Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 124, Resident Evil 2002. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by the Memory Lab, DC Public Library. The Memory Lab is the result of a year-long National Digital Stewardship Residency project beginning in June 2015 to create sustainable, public-focused lab tools and instructions for building public knowledge and skills around the digital record keeping at the DC Public Library. Thank you, the Memory Lab.
Thank you, the Memory Lab, and thank you, Nick Burris, for sponsoring this episode. This is his patron pick this lap.
True.
He chose Resident
Thank
Evil.
you.
So we have another Resident Evil movie coming later this week. Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke on Wednesday, or since people last heard on Friday?
Okay, so we finished Papers, Please. We took a suggestion from you to get another game. We played Portal for the past couple days.
Okay. Did you beat Portal yet, or are you still working on it?
Beat the first one.
Okay.
But I bought both of them. It was obviously a lot of fun, and it was like a nice break. Mentally, watched some Love Island, which is continually going off the rails. Watched a bunch of movies, which I'm not going to say which they are, but I told you this morning because...
I think you can, because it's you know, it's related.
I watched a bunch of Resident Evil movies. It's Resident Evil week, and I wanted to watch all the ones in between this one and 5.
Yep.
Watched a bunch of Resident Evil movies, and what else? Oh, and I did a little scouting report for a movie that we might do later, which I really enjoyed. So
100% on brand for you.
Yes.
Which people should know. I mean, that could mean a few different things, but I guess one thing in particular that people will find out later this lap.
Yeah.
In another themed week.
Is it a themed week?
Yeah. With a,
Okay.
I'm going to bleep this, but with a movie.
Oh.
It's called
Okay. Sounds fun. Okay.
Anything else of note? Any recipes you have tested out? Anything that Rachel has made or that you have made?
No, I woke up craving Korean fried chicken yesterday morning, so we made that for breakfast.
Is that in the air fryer, or how do you do that?
No, we deep fried them.
Okay.
I have peanut oil. I actually deep. So we were deep frying it 10 o'clock in the morning.
Cool.
It was delicious though. I know. I woke up at 7 a.m. and I was like, I want fried chicken. I don't know why, and a pregnant woman craving, and that's what I did. So Rachel complied because she hates breakfast. So usually I'm the one who's jonesing for pancakes and stuff, and she's not really about it. So when I woke up and was like, I want fried chicken, she was like, I don't have to eat pancakes this morning. So she was very happy.
Cool.
No, that's about it. Yeah.
Oh, I played a shit ton of Tony Hawk. They remastered the first
you
two
told
games,
me.
and they released it on Xbox One and PS4, and it's so good. It's true to the original. I was saying to you that in the span of 4 hours on Friday, because I did basically a half day of work, and then I was just there's nothing going on. My bosses aren't at their desks. I'm just, remotely even, but I'm just I'm going to play video games. So in the span of about 4 or 5 hours, I basically 100% of the first two games. But what's cool is that there are 700 in-game challenges to do, which gives my video game completionist OCD brain, it's so wonderful. There's also what's really cool, which I don't know if they had in previous games. I think people probably just did it on their own, but they have timed leaderboards in here. They have speed runs. So in every Tony Hawk game, so if people don't know, it's there's different levels, and some are smaller, some are bigger, and there's different goals. There's always score a certain amount of points, collect these 5 things, collect those 5 things, hidden tapes, collect the skate letters, whatever. What's really cool about this is that there are speed runs that the counter goes up, because it's usually a 2-minute run that you just do as much as you can in 2 minutes and you start again, whatever. So it's very easy to pick up, put down. But there's speed runs now where the counter starts at 0 and works your way up, and you just have to complete all 10 goals in as fast as you can.
Well, that's a cool thing, because they that's an adaptation that has happened since the video games these games have come out.
Yep.
That people have decided that they want to do it as fast as possible. They have YouTube or Twitch channels.
Speedrunners, yep. Mm-hmm.
Speedrunners. And I've actually watched Tony Hawk speedrun videos. That's really funny that you said that. I wanted to listen to the soundtrack / remember Tony Hawk when the trailer came out for the remake.
Yep.
I watched a speedrun video because I was I want to see this kid how fast he can do it. And they're fucking fast.
Yes.
They're so fast. They know the exact perfect route to hit everything, and they're always doing 3 things at a time.
Yeah, I'm not that good, but compared to I think most people, I'm pretty good at Tony Hawk. There's a handful of franchises, but then if you go online, there's basically fun play and then ranked play, And fun play, I
Yeah.
was like winning pretty easily, and then I go to rank play, and I'm like, oh no, there's people who are like way better than I am. So it's
Yes.
always nice to have like a bucket of cold water thrown in your face, just like, oh no, you're not actually that good at this game. I mean, you're good, but
Get
it's
humbled.
there are people, yeah, exactly, who are
Yeah.
way better than you are. But it's just such a great nostalgia blend. Like there's new songs, there's old songs, there's new skaters, there's old skaters. It's as good as I possibly
Who's
could
your
have ever
favorite
hoped
Tony
for.
Hawk skater? Who'd you go
Rodney
with?
Mullen,
Oh, you like Rodney Mullen?
because
That's good.
I think I don't know which came first, because Rodney Mullen's whole thing is he's like a street skater, so like he does a lot of manuals and grinds and tricks and flips
Yeah.
and stuff, and that always was more impressive to me. Everything that everybody does on a skateboard, like I've never ridden a skateboard, like there's nothing that they do in the game I could do in real life, so like it's all
Yeah.
impressive to me, but like what he was doing was always more impressive to me than like grab tricks like in a half pipe, but him just
Yeah.
like flipping the skateboard and like just like pogoing or whatever, like just insane stuff that he does. And so
But
I
he did
always
it.
play this Rodney
Like in real
Mullen.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's cool is that there's like 20 skaters in the game. There's a couple of hidden skaters. You can create skaters, but then once you like basically beat the game as one of these skaters, you unlock their video. And I think it's probably the same video from like the first one, the second one, or whatever. But just
Yeah.
watching him do his thing again, I'm like, oh my god, like he's ridiculous. He's unbelievably good, and just it's insane to watch him do his thing.
I just want to pitch just again because you're bringing this up now. If this is any interest to you, King of the Road on Vice is like one of the coolest shows that's come out in the past like 5-10 years to me.
Oh yeah, you told me
And
about that a
it's-
long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, they stopped it because like the one guy died this year, so there wasn't like a season this year.
On set, or he just died related or unrelated to the
No,
show?
he was like an editor for Thrasher, and he was like kind of like the one that would like put it together, kind of. Like the spirit of it.
Okay, but he didn't like die like on like they didn't film him his death. He just like
No.
okay.
He's like 70 or he's like 60 or 70 years
Okay,
old. Like
okay.
he died of like natural causes. He didn't like die in an accident.
Gotcha. Okay.
They didn't have one, but the 3 seasons that they did do on Vice were awesome. And you were talking like, okay, you've seen street skaters. These guys are like mostly street skaters, and like the stuff that they were doing back then. But like you watch like the shit that they can do now, and like these kids can do. It's just mind-boggling. Like they just do crazy shit the whole time.
And that's what's cool. Like I'm guessing it's his son, but like Riley Hawk is in the game.
Yeah.
It's cool to have like the new breed of skaters. There's like a couple like I'm now at the point where I'm just like listening to podcasts. So it's like I played the game for probably 8 or 10 hours, listening to the music, and I've heard all the songs and whatever. And so I'm just now playing just mindlessly and listening to other stuff or whatever. But like it's
Yeah.
that game where I'm gonna basically play with everybody because I want to just do as many challenges as I can. And it's only $40, which is cool. Like it's the first 2 games for $40. If they
Can't beat it,
remaster 3 and 4 and like put it out as DLC or something, I would pay another $40 for that. Like it's perfect in just about every way, and I can't recommend it enough. Even if you never played them back on PlayStation, like in the 90s or early 2000s or whatever, like it's so good. It's so well done, and it's the exact right brand of nostalgia, I think.
Yeah, I don't imagine that anybody didn't play them. If you're of our age,
Yeah, no, because like I don't have
somebody had them.
I have zero interest in like skate culture or skateboarding, and still I played the hell out of them, right?
Yep.
So they were those video games where like, oh no, this is one that everybody has to play.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and like every friend had it, somebody had it on some system, and you all played it.
Yep. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, I mentioned it briefly, I think, last episode, but I watched the new Charlie Kaufman movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, on Netflix. I'm waiting for the rest of the Tub Talk guys to watch it. 2 of the 3 watched it. The other one started, he was watching with his wife, and it was late at night, and they didn't finish it, and so he's going to have to rewatch it from the beginning. I really want to, like, go deep with someone on what that movie is. It's based on a book by this guy, Ian Reed, that I bought and read twice when I heard that Charlie Kaufman, because I loved the book and I read it again. When I heard Charlie Kaufman was going to adapt it, I bought it and I was like, oh, I love this. But in my head, I'm like, I don't know how you adapt this. I was a little biased in that, like, I only read it because I knew he was going to do it and knew I would probably love the movie. And so I watched the movie, and the movie structurally does really smart things with how they're doing it. Because most of the book is about a girl meeting her boyfriend's parents for the first time. They've been dating for like a month or 2, and she's going with him on a road trip to meet his parents. And on the way there, like it's all told from her perspective, on the way there, she's like, I'm thinking of ending things, like he's a great guy, but I don't think this is going to work. And so in her head, on the way to meet his parents for the first time, she's like, I'm going to break up with him. It weirdly, like things kind of, weird stuff kind of compounds and happens and whatever, and there's like a twist and whatever, right? Because the book is so in her head, because you're just hearing, she's like thinking and thinking and overthinking and whatever. I'm like, I don't know how you adapt this, especially given like how the book kind of ends, but the movie does a smart thing in how it tells the story that like works for the screen, I think. My basic spoiler-free verdict is that like I had very high expectations and I was not disappointed. I don't know if I loved it. Like I don't know what I would have thought of it if I didn't read the book, but like it's one of those things where it's just like, oh yeah, this is like the best version of what I could have imagined, but I didn't, but like I wasn't like blown away. Like it's just a weird, like I don't know how to think about it because like it's kind of exactly what I hoped for, but does that make any sense? Like, I don't know how to describe.
Yeah.
Like I loved it, I think, but I'm also like,
You're,
oh yeah, that's what I expected.
this is a it was fine.
No, because I don't think, because I say that a lot and I get in trouble for saying that a lot. Like I think that's like kind of, and I agree that I can be dismissive like that. Like I don't think it's not fine. It's very
Yes,
good,
but
it's,
you're meaning it the correct way. You're like, it was fine. Like that was enjoyable to the extent that I wanted it to be, but nothing more than that.
But like
Yes.
what's weird is that like my expectations were so high and I wasn't disappointed. So like it's fine in that regard, but the bar is so high that like I feel like just saying it's fine isn't enough. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's
I get
weird,
it.
but I recommend it. I don't
feel
know.
you.
I think you would like it. I don't know. It's long and it's slow and it's weird. And I think if you don't know what's going on, you might. It's one of those where you might have to watch it twice to
Makes
sort
sense.
of appreciate. Like once you know whatever. But yeah, it's on Netflix, so I mean, if it's out there, it's out there, so go check it out. But we have a Patreon page here on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenin, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, and Dan the Duke Hayden for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Thank you all
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
As we've been saying, everybody who are patrons know our next 3 lap picks. Everybody at the $10 a month tier or above gets a movie pick per lap, which is a lot. Plus our undying love and affection. We get stickers at the $5 a month level or above. Lots of fun things, access to the documents, and just you get to support the show. toofast2forever.com. If you don't have money or don't want to support the show, things are a little tight, just send us an email. Say hello, family@cageclub.me and Joe. We've got 3 emails today.
Okay.
First one from Wes Hampton, subject line, girl fight, what up, fam?
What up, Wes?
I don't know why I put Furious 7 in the subject line last time. I must have been distracted. I normally try to proofread it, but maybe I should double check the subject too. Well, it's not the end of the world.
Not a big deal.
Good episode about girl fight. Boxing movies are weird for me because I almost never interested in them, but I always get super invested if I watch them. I think most boxing movies, like on average, I think are probably great.
Right? They have like a high propensity to be good. Like better than usual. That's really weird. For like most sports movies, like boxing ones seem to be like the most pivotal.
So back when I did Sports for Starters, my first podcast, this is like 7 years ago, I don't think they're available on the internet. There's like, they're buried in a semi-public folder on cageclub.me, so like you can maybe find them, but don't look for them. But I remember John and I did our countdown of favorite sports movies, and I included boxing. He's like, oh right, boxing. Like he just didn't like tie them to sports movies, because like I think when you think sports movies, it's like miracle, like the team wins, right?
Yes.
Or something.
Yes,
But
Mighty Ducks.
yeah. But when you factor them in, because they're undeniably sports movies, I think, and like most boxing movies are great. I really like Cinderella Man, Rocky, Raging Bull,
The Fighter,
Girl Fight, like even
Yeah.
bad one, like even ones like I don't love, like Southpaw. Like when you film stuff, like film scenes right, like it's magnetic. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you.
He says this one sounds really good, so maybe I'll look it up on Stars. Yes, please. Also, Resident Evil Retribution, and no, not the first one, just the new one, just Friday's episode, also on Stars. Says
Stars
Joe, I
every
second the
fucking
Portal recommendation. Well, you already beat it. They're great puzzle
Yep.
games that have an equally engaging and entertaining story.
I agree. The story was the best part. I really enjoyed it. You pitched it to us and you were like, it's funny and like kind of upbeat. Like
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable. It's like mindless and fun, but and it was like challenging, but not like impossible. You know what I mean? Because you needed something that's like a little bit difficult for Rachel, but not like she's gonna rage quit it.
Yeah, I
know?
want to say
So,
Portal 2 is probably a little bit more complicated, but also she has the foundational whatever from the first one, and so they just build on that. But yeah, you
Yeah,
asked between that one and a walking sim, What Remains of Edith Finch, which is actually of those genres more fun because there's like different kinds of things you're doing. But I was like, well,
yeah,
that one's like kind of depressing, and then Portal's like just silly and fun, and kind
yeah.
of challenging. So I was like, if one of those is like they're both worth playing, but like you kind of have to be like in the mindset for the one. Portal is just like you can play whenever. So
It was actually really funny because like we grew up on first person shooters, right? Like you and I specifically. To watch Rachel play this game that's essentially a first person shooter
yep,
but have none of the basis of a first person shooter.
yep.
All of the like cheating you can do, like hiding behind a wall and just like peeking out and stuff like that. Like she didn't know any of these concepts to start with. So I would be like really I'd be like no 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 like yes, you're getting shot, but just like hide behind the wall and then just like strafe. And she's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know? And you're like, god damn it. Like we eventually get through it and like I explained, but like there was like a lot of things that I was like, oh, some of these parts would have probably been a lot easier if like you had a foundational first person shooter basis, right?
Right.
Like
Yep.
this is essentially like the first shooter she's ever played, and you're like, oh yeah. Like, and there was like a lot of things that I would see that be like, oh yeah, they want you to do this, right? Like it's very easy, clear that you. And she's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like how? And you're like, well, just because every game wants you to do this. So
I wonder, like, my sister and I played a ton of Perfect Dark on N64, but I feel like the N64 with its, like, little yellow buttons for, like, strafe and look up and down, like, kind of translates but does it. But she also plays, Xbox. She has an Xbox and she has a bunch of games that, her company works
yeah.
on and stuff like that. So she's definitely got the basics down. I'm sure she could do Portal with no issue. But yeah, it is weird to, like, there's certain things that just, like, oh yeah, this is understandable. Like, this is just what most people have innately in their brain. It's like, well, not everybody. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, because they're building the game for someone that like most of the people that are going to play this have played shooters before, right? So like they're not telling you like the very very basics. They're telling you the basics of this game. So it was just like a fun experience to like watch and play along with.
And that's why thinking about games like the original Super Mario Brothers, I think there's been like documentaries or maybe books or something made about it. But like when you're just dropped, like for a lot of people, like not at the arcade, but just at home, Super Mario Brothers was like the first video game they ever played. And so it's like, how do you, without really having like a tutorial, like all those kind of games, the first levels, I mean, Portal 2, like the first few levels are the tutorials. And so like, how do you encourage people to just be like, you have to go to the right and get to the end of the screen? And it's like, well, you just have enemies coming at you. You just have to go past them, right? So like, it's the idea of like how to teach someone how to play a game without having played games before is a weird, mind-breaking kind of thing.
I think that that's like a really difficult thing, and I think that would be a really fun thing for me when I would like if I was like, when we were talking to Andy, right? If we were like designing games, like the idea that like you have to teach people how to play them in the very beginning, and like how do you do that, and also include a story and things like that.
Well, I think
It's
he
very
talked
interesting.
about that to a certain extent because he was
Yeah,
saying, they're not only targeting the video game demographic, but they're also targeting people who have seen the movies but have never played a game, right? But like
yep.
might have an Xbox or PlayStation around. So
And I think it's way harder to do that than it is to just be like, oh, here's like Halo 27,
right,
right?
yeah, because like yeah, if it's Halo 5 or it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 or whatever, like people are not gonna like
yeah,
that's not gonna be your first one because it's like okay, yeah, you're gonna sort of ramp up, but like if it's just Portal or Fast and Furious, it's just like well, okay, yeah, like this could be for everybody, but it's hard, it's hard.
yep.
Wes says, I forgot you guys live near the pizza capital of the world. I agree any pizza in New York is better than 95% of the other pizza I've had anywhere else, even though that
Connecticut
style
first.
is not my favorite. Well,
Connecticut first.
well.
But yes.
Possible debate was more about favorite pizza chain or pizza style, but maybe that's not as hot a topic as burger chains. Even like I'm not even passionate about the burger chains. Like the whole what a burger versus In-N-Out. I'm just not impressed by In-N-Out. Like it's not even like a thought until I get here. It's not like I'm can't just I don't know.
I don't really have a preference on like even big pizza chains. Like they all serve their own purpose. Like I have no like preferential treatment of one way or the other, right? Like I have a Domino's close. We definitely have gotten Domino's before. I enjoy Pizza Hut, but they're far away.
Yeah, like I like
And like Little
Domino's, but even
Caesars.
even as we describe it, it's just like I'm not going to defend Domino's. It's like it's not good. Like
Yeah.
I know it's not good. Like it's just,
Same. Yeah, exactly.
but it's not good in the same way
Precisely.
that like McDonald's isn't good. Like for when you want that
Exactly.
itch, like it's the best thing in the world, right? But it's just not like oh I want a burger. Where can I go? Like oh McDonald's. But when you need a McDonald's, get a McDonald's.
Even in pizza styles too, like the only one that like I really hate on is like deep dish, but like Detroit style like pan pizza, New York style pizza, there's times and places for all of them. It's kind of like pasta shapes.
Yep.
There's a pasta shape for everything.
I wasn't suggesting honey for pizza crust was a New York style thing. It just happens that the only place I know that offers it is one of those places. Since it seems to
Yeah.
come from the Midwest, the idea of dipping the crust is sort of like a built-in dessert.
No, there's a pizza place in Colorado called Bojo's, which is like Colorado style pizza. And they specifically give you honey with your crust, and they use whole wheat crust for pizza. And so, like, at the end, you do get honey and whole wheat crust. And I've had that before, and it was also delightful in its own weird way, like pizza in Denver or whatever. But yeah.
I remember, I might have even said this on here because I feel like whenever I think of like pizza around the country, I just think of this, not story, but thing that happened is that when I was doing my cross-country trip and I was like in Oregon, basically halfway through my trip, like I hadn't had really good like Italian food in like 3 or 4 weeks, right? And I'm just like, I'm like, I could really go for pizza right now. And so I'm just like, this is probably gonna be disappointing, but I'm gonna look on Yelp, and I found this place, and like people reviewing it like I'm from New Jersey, and like this is the best pizza that I've ever had, and I'm like, okay, like let's give it a shot. And I go there and I'm like, oh, this is like, even when they bring it out to me, I'm like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. Like maybe if I was expecting like another kind of pizza or whatever, like that would have been fine. But I was just like, especially that one random review where they're like, oh, this is better than, like, I'm just like, okay. And I was like, oh no, this is not. So just keep your expectations in check when you go somewhere else for someone else's cuisine. So
True. True.
I'm also the opinion that there's no wrong way to make a pizza, and truly terrible pizza is hard to come by. It's so versatile that at worst, it's just okay.
I've had some fucking terrible pizzas in my lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like some almost inedible ones. And I'm not very picky. You heard my logic. But yes, I've had some very bad ones. So I don't know how much. I mean, like, I've had some bad ones. For sure.
Yeah. Forgot to mention my favorite version of Nico's immediate translation trope. It's not exactly what he described, but in Die Hard, the bad guys have John McClane cornered. Hans knows John has no shoes, so he tells Carl something in German, which means shoot the window. Carl looks at Hans like he doesn't understand, and Hans repeats in very exasperated English, shoot the glass, and now Carl gets it. Clearly done for the audience's benefit, but I always found it funny that a native German only understood it once it was said in English.
Ah, no, I never picked up on that. I'll have to catch that next time we watch Die Hard.
I'm curious to see what you think of the Resident Evil movies. I love the games up through 4, and the first movie was my and Mrs. West's first actual date. It's a fun one. Holds a unique place in my heart. We watch it every few years, and I only remember about 15% of it each time. That's it for now. Stay furious, Wes.
We enjoyed it. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute that it's a first date movie. I feel like you told us that before. I feel like I remember that.
I think he probably Facebook messaged it to us this week or something, right? So.
Oh, probably.
Next email from Justin Kleiman. Subject line: It's been a while.
What's up, Justin? How are you doing, bud?
Life has been so busy lately that I've been having trouble keeping up with the pod and getting emails off. As you can see in my photo, I have notes of thoughts while listening in my work truck. So I'm going to send this picture to you now.
Let me see. I want to see it. I want to see it. This is awesome.
I quickly scribble it down. It would appear by the notes that I haven't written since before Widow. So he has these things, just says, book it, hotel story, ice and soda, chocolate rain, Widows, Chicago. So yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, that's really, I like book it and ice and soda.
Widows. I really enjoyed this movie. You're right, there's a lot of inside baseball with Chicago politics. The 5 years I lived there helped understand a lot of what you two mentioned as being confused by in regards to the aldermen, etc. It's all corrupt as can be, but it's fun to read about in the papers. When I lived there, my alderman was Richard Mell, one of the longest running ones and most powerful. His son-in-law was the infamous Governor Rod Blagojevich, who went to prison and was later pardoned by Trump.
Oh, nice.
You know that when your guy is pardoned by Trump, like, things are pretty good.
Opening the drain on the swamp, man. That's all I was doing. Yeah, just laughing about it.
Drain the swamp and fill it with other swamp creatures.
Exactly.
I always loved that Robert Duvall was in the film. I have a long history of watching movies only to discover he's in them, and it's always a surprise, and I love it.
Yeah, I love actors like that. I watch a lot of movies, and I'm like, oh, damn, he's in this too? Damn. Like, really excited. Rachel gets a little flustered with me because I do that. I'll be like, oh, because she'll, like, go through, and she'll be like, oh, all these people were in the cast, and as you know, I don't remember anyone's name, so then I'll be watching it, and I'll be like, oh, this guy's in it, but, like, Resident Evil 5, and she's like, I told you he was in it. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know his name, so I just said cool, and then moved along.
That guy.
I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, from that movie.
Yep, that guy.
Says Fast Minute Quiz, I was disappointed that the rave guy's color sticks, he says Word shows him. I don't think we did that for the question after much debate. For whatever reason, that guy is seared into my mind. I remember us saying that, like, we wanted to do it like it makes sense. The video file that, like, I edited, like, and I recompressed, like, I don't know if these colors are accurate. Like, I feel like colors are kind of like an iffy thing. I think we've kind of subtle than that. Like asking colors of things are. I don't. I
It's
looked at the
rough.
quiz. I don't think we have that as a question, but
I think he's mad that we didn't include it because he remembers it so well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin. Would have been an easy answer for you, but what is it? Blue and yellow? Blue and orange?
That was the debate. It's like an orangish yellow.
Okay.
So then like there was like an ambiguity there, but yes.
Okay. Homoerotic films. You had the discussion about homoerotic films and insecure men claiming they aren't. This brought to
Yes.
mind the terrible film 300. Ooh. My wife and I saw it
Yes.
in the theater. Also the only time I've been approached for a post-film survey. Fancy. As we were leaving, my wife started talking about how homoerotic it was, with all the greased-up, muscle-bound men, not to mention the history of the Spartans and the tenors they
Yep.
brought with to battle.
Yep.
Whenever we would mention this to friends who had seen it, so often the men would get super defensive, and one of their items of defense was, how could it be homoerotic? There was a scene with women's breasts in it.
I love it, man. I know. I love it. This is exactly what I live for. Like this kind of shit makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That they're like, what? How would you mean that there was like it's dudes wrestling the whole time? If you don't want to see it, that's fine. But just it's there.
It's there if you want it, or don't, or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like don't deny it's there. Like it's there. You're just feeling weird about it because you said you really like this and now you're uncomfortable with your sexuality about it. So
Yeah, it's like Lena Headey, a.k.a., oh god, I haven't thought about Game of Thrones in so long, Cersei Lannister. Is
Okay.
yeah, you can see her breasts in like some like 15-second or even shorter like sort of dream sex scene, but there's also like dudes basically in like speedos for the rest of the 2-hour movie, right? So it's like Lost. I only watched the first season and a half, maybe before getting bored. We were binging it when we had a newborn. I remember saying to Vani, "This is dumb." 40 minutes of building suspense and a 2-minute cliffhanger for next week. Then they just do it all over again. They never answer my questions. Well, I think that's probably most network dramas of the time. I mean, Lost in particular, but
I'm with you, dude. Like I said, I only watched like the first season, and then I gave up too. I'm watching now because of Michelle Rodriguez, and it's a little bit different perspective wise watching it for her, and I'm actually enjoying it the second time around.
I think
Like
the
a lot
very
more,
first
but-
time that I watched it, I watched like 3/4 of the first season. I was like, no, I'm good. And then
Really? You
yeah,
too?
I did like I remember doing like 18 hours and being like, no, this isn't for me. Like I gave it like a long time, and then like later I was like, I'll give it another shot. And I was like, oh no, I love this, but it took a while. Like it's not exactly it's accessible and not in ways. Like you kind of have to have your mind open to it, right? And just
Yeah.
know in retrospect that you're not going to have questions answered. I don't know.
I think that's the thing that you and Wes really led me in with this time watching it is because like when I watched it like the first time with Rachel, she'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if this happens," and I didn't know if she was like saying like "I don't know" or like "I'm not gonna tell you" or like "what happens" or whatever. But like you guys being like, "Look, they just don't answer some shit." Like once I knew that and like just let my mind go, I'm like, "Okay, cool."
They widen things out for a while, then drop a lot of it to the frustration of many fans. But then, like the important things, they all come back together. But I want to say at some point you find out why there's a polar bear on the island. But like by that point, you're like, who cares? Like it doesn't matter. Like it's just, why does Walt have a comic book that predicts what's on the island? That's never brought up. Who were Adam and Eve? I don't remember if that is like it's just like things that early on where it's like these are the craziest mysteries. It's like well they're never answered, right? So it just I can
Yep.
see why people are frustrated, but that was never what hooked me in. Like the mystery element was interesting, but it was always about the character and the mythology and just the mystery of it all in general, as opposed to like being a detective and being like, oh, this leads to this or whatever. So
You know what? And you know what's helping me this time too? Honestly, in a weird way, watching them not binging, I forget things like why does he have the comic book and stuff like that. Then I don't get mad that I don't know the answer to it. If you like watch them in a row, you're like, oh fuck, like no, we didn't answer this other thing.
Yeah.
But like now, giving me like 4 days in between each episode, shit that like is minor like that was like a big mystery one episode is like okay, no, nothing fucking matters.
to be fair, that's how most people experience it on TV, and they were still pissy. So
Yeah, but I have like a really shitty memory about stuff like that. Like I need to watch it in a row, or I just ADD it right out of my brain. So
Paul Verhoeven, I really enjoyed the RoboCop and Total Recall picks. It spurred me and my friends who had been doing our Zoom movie night to watch his movies. I'd never seen RoboCop, with the exception of the boardroom scene where the machine kills the guy by accident. Well, not really by accident. We later find out it's on purpose. I walked in on my dad watching that scene when I was a kid, and it traumatized me. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. We watched Total Recall last week. Next week will be Basic Instinct, then Showgirls, Starship Troopers, and Hollow Man. Ooh. I would also
Basic
say
Instinct is good too.
add
Yeah.
the movie Elle, E-L-L-E. It's just like its 2016 movie. It's close to being on par with those. And I think it's just a great movie, and Isabelle Huppert is amazing in the lead. So maybe not necessarily as like explosive as some of those, but definitely worth watching, I think, with your friends or without. But Elle, great movie. Chocolate Rain, I also had no idea what this was.
Thank you. The clue was, yeah, I didn't remember his name at all, but...
Book It. Nice callback, Joe. I remember the buttons with the stars. It was the only reason I read anything. Gotta get that personal pizza. Most of the pizza huts around me are out of business too. Another similarity between Austin and Minneapolis, I guess. There's no good pizza places. Domino's become my go-to because I own a rental house, and the guy who lives there is the manager. He's a great guy, so I figure I may as well support his store. Okay. I thought you were going to say because like he pays his rent in pizza, but I guess
No.
you're just being kind.
Man, hey, if any of my friends have a business or work at a business, I always choose that one first over anything else because just show them that, like, hey, man, I support your business. And then as soon as they, like, quit or get fired, I never go back to that place again.
Dead to me.
Dead, seriously. Yeah, I've banned a lot of places because, like, I'm like, fuck that place.
Hotel story. Back when I was 19 and in trade school for HVAC, I got a job at a hotel as their HVAC and maintenance guy. Besides the HVAC, I fixed a lot of doors and TVs. It was a decent after-school job. Well, one night, 10 minutes before the end of my shift, I got a call from the front desk. There was a Green Mill restaurant connected to the hotel. Someone had thrown up in the adjoining men's room. Oh boy. I told them to get housekeeping or the janitor, and they said they'd all gone home, so I had to do it. Nope. I sat downstairs getting angry about having to do it. I walked up to the restroom, opened the door, and someone had basically made it into the door and then projectile vomited all over the bathroom. I stood there and stared for a minute, turned, and walked out. I walked back up to the desk and said I was going home. They asked if it was clean, then I said no, and walked out to my car and left. The next day I came into work where my supervisor called me into his office. He had a 3-page handwritten note from the assistant manager about me and how terrible of an employee I was.
Yep.
Neither of us liked her because she thought herself queen of the castle and treated us all like dirt. As it turned out, the front desk called her, come in and clean up the vomit. The supervisor just told me to get to work, and the next time I should call him.
Nice. Well, that turned out better than I thought. Like, you didn't... I thought you were going to quit. You should have rage quit just right there.
Well, I mean, no, I think you did it right. Like, you don't have to quit. Just be like, no, I'm not doing that. And then, like, if they're going to fire you, like, that's not...
But, like, how's the HVAC kid the, like, one responsible? Like, you're not housekeeping.
No,
like,
but I think
and that's a manager's job now.
It's the mindset of, like, entitled people be like, oh yeah, like he fixes things, he can clean things up too, right? Like it's just like they're in their mind, they're like, oh yes, he's one of those, right? Like,
and it's also like I'm above this, right? Like, and you're like, no, dude, like you're the manager, nobody else is there, like you fucking clean this now. That's your job as a manager.
There was a Twitter thread all these times that they had like in fast food places or whatever, they had to do like this kind of stuff or like disgusting bathroom things, and like the commonality aside from just like so many people being like, this is the worst thing that ever happened in my life, but a lot of people were just like, no, like it's the manager's responsibility. Like if the quote unquote like correct people aren't there or whatever, it's never the minimum wage person or never like the low in the totem pole. It's always like, no, you're in charge. The person's not there. It's your job. So
the manager's job in any job is to be able to do all the other jobs if nobody can do those jobs. So that's the whole point. Yes.
Yep. He says, though, about a month ago, my mom dropped off a box of stuff from my childhood that'd been in their house. In that box, I found the letter from the assistant manager. I have no memory of taking it home. It was very exciting to find and read. So I guess that 3-page handwritten note Justin still has. So
I want to know how angry it was. I bet it was like really angry. Like, and then
I would imagine
said,
it's very like passive aggressive, just like a very
yeah.
Karen kind of just like. And clearly he's not a good employee because I had to come in here and you can't imagine what I had to do on my night off. And
how do you write a 3-page note about like refuse to clean bathroom? Like that's like a 2-sentence like written up refuse to clean bathroom.
I mean, I think that's all you need to know about like who they are and how they view the world. It's like my boss likes to say that every blog should be a book and every book should be a blog, just like everything is the wrong length. It just
yes
things that are actually interesting are never as long as they need to be, and things that like should not be as long as they are never actually interesting. So
true.
Just be like,
I get it.
Yeah, fuck Justin, he didn't clean this thing up. It's like, well, that wasn't his job. It's like, okay, cool, end of conversation. Like that's right. Like that's
not 3 pages worth of this. Yeah.
Thanks for reading the long email. Now I can get a piece of scratch paper out for notes. Keep up the great work, Justin. P.S. Hilarious that you got the Budget Boys on the podcast. I wouldn't have guessed that me sharing a silly Facebook video would have turned into a whole episode. Now let's do that with Agent Bilkins. My greatest sadness is that like I tried to get Ted. I emailed Ted's manager. Never heard back from Ted's manager. Like, Ted, like, what's Ted doing? Like, no offense to Ted, but like, Just give us like 15 minutes. Just be like, Ted, what's going on in that scene?
I bet that manager like doesn't. I bet that he doesn't have a manager anymore. Out of the game.
It's just like another email address that he needs to check and just doesn't check.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or it's like that thing that like I see a lot of women on Twitter claim that like they have like an agent email address that like gets like emailed for them, but it's really just them too, so that they can like not get yelled at by people. And maybe he had one of those because he's like his own agent, and he just like lost the password to that and never looked it up.
So sad.
He's come out of movies,
and he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to re-up to his IMDb Pro to update it. So
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Ted.
Yeah.
Next email, last email from Jerry Robinson. Subject line: Karate Kid Pizza and what's up?
What's up, Jerry? How are you doing, bud?
Hey guys, hope all is well during these times. I got some Karate Kid knowledge for you. I watched them all and only liked the first two. There was the first one in 84, part 2 in 86, part 3 in 89, the next Karate Kid in 94, and the reboot in 2010. Trust me, just stick with the first two.
Okay.
Joe, too, you were talking about pizza, and there's a spot over here called Signor's. Is a magnificent and very well known in the peninsula part of the Bay Area, but I can always go for Domino's and Little Caesars, especially the cheesy bread.
I actually made cheesy breadsticks yesterday. That was something that I did make. They were really fucking good.
Says an important question for you three, asking Rachel too, so if she's there, get her on the phone. Pineapple or pizza? Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Rachel, what do you say? Pineapple on pizza? Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Oh yeah. Rachel has a mild pineapple allergy. Never mind.
Oh.
I'm a dumb person for saying this. So she gets like mildly itchy when she eats pineapples. Like not like EpiPen or like Breakout or something, but like she gets like itchy.
So I'm gonna say it's
Small
a no for her.
hives.
Okay.
So no for her.
What about you?
I like it on a Hawaiian pizza. I don't think it's as bastardized as people claim it to be. Pizza has many things on it, and they put weird shit on pizza in Italy anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just like a vehicle for like toppings, right?
My dad is always like, that's not pizza, about anything, right? Just like anything that's not basically pepperoni or sausage or just like one of 4 pizzas, just like, oh, that's not pizza. And it's
so weird.
I think I don't have a problem with it, but I don't like ham on pizza, but bacon and pineapple,
I actually, and I really like grilled pineapples too in general. So like I like anything that I could put grilled pineapples on. But like yeah, what like I was saying, like in Italy, like when I was there, I'd have pizzas that have like eggs on them. That's there. They make these pizzas and nobody's like ashamed of it. So
I mean, like one of the most popular, like kind of hippest. It was a while ago. I don't know if it still is, but pizza chains in New York is Artichoke Pizza, right? And like it's all like
yes, it is.
Like I don't like that, but I don't disrespect. Like just like it's not for me. But clearly, if people didn't love it, they wouldn't be as popular as they are. So I don't know.
There's a lot of food things that I hate that people do. Pineapple on pizza is not one of them.
Yeah.
I could create a whole list of things that I don't like.
Oh, you have a problem with things I never would have guessed.
I know, especially like food thing. Like hey, if you want to talk about people using the wrong pasta shape with the wrong sauce, I get so upset about that. And there's like very specific rules to that. If you want to put pineapple on pizza, it's just a bread thing, man. What the fuck's it matter?
Yep.
It doesn't bother me too much.
Says they're doing an FX marathon of the movies, and they're playing in chronological order, except skipping 5 and 3, which is kind of disappointing. That's weird. They also have cable say shit on TV instead of a blank, but no fuck. So far, I've seen 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7.
Yeah, they play them in a fucking row all the time, too.
Got a little story about the infamous chain. Dom had it in 1, and it was the ring when him and Letty got married. We did the whole lap about this, yeah. Speaking of Michelle, there was a deleted scene in Avatar where her and another character were having sex on one of those pods. Okay. When Dom took off in 4, he left letting the chain to her. She comes home at 1327, restores the broken charger, and hangs the chain and, quote-unquote, dies. Dom wears it in 5 until he falls off to Elena, but Dom quickly retrieves it. Dom has it in 6. He gives it to new Letty, saying, it belongs to you. Letty gives it to Owen. He tosses it aside, gets kind of blank, because then Deckard has a necklace before he, quote, kills Han. Sean then has it, passes it back to Dom. I swear he's a magnet for that necklace. Pretty much Dom, Letty, Dom, Elena, Dom, Letty, Owen, Deckard, Sean, Dom.
Yeah, that's the definitive passing. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we did the whole walk down memory chain lap where we tracked that every episode, so I think that lines up with what you said. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
One of my best friends, Jason, and I were at Dave & Buster's a few years back. We had the unlimited play card, and we played Fast and Furious driving game where you can enter a pin and save your car upgrades. Jason chose a Charger, and I chose a GTR, and of course, we made them black and blue. We were there for a while racing and upgraded our cars to the max. We were the Dom and Brian of that game. That's all I got for now. Be fast, never last, and hashtag Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever, for serious, yeah. I haven't been to Dave & Buster's since they haven't had unlimited play. Have you?
No, I
I can't
had my
remember the last time I was at one.
high school graduation, college graduation there, I think, and maybe I've gone once or twice since. But yeah, no, there's none near me, unfortunately. I think the
Yeah,
closest one to me is probably, well, unless I'm wrong, is the mall where we would normally see the Fast and Furious movies. There's
Oh,
one
you're right.
in
There is
Nyack,
one
yeah.
in the Palisades.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's you know what there is one that's closer to here, but it's in another mall. You're right. I don't think I'm ever near a mall. Like I don't like with Amazon and stuff, like I never go to a mall or near one for that matter.
Nothing sadder than dead malls.
True. I do love dead malls though. I mean, if that's on brand or not. Like malls that have like two stores, though I find those very interesting. And malls that have many stores, I'm like, no, I have no use for you.
Yeah. That's all the emails for today. Family at cageclub.me. Thank you, Wes, Justin, and Jerry for emailing. And if you want to send in a note,
Yes,
family
thank you.
at cageclub.me. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious, big news that basically broke kind of as we were recording. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson,
I
announced that he
know.
and his whole family had COVID, but they're all battling it. They're all back from it. Seems like their daughters just had kind of the sniffles, I think he said. But he and his wife, Lauren,
Thank
were
God.
hit a little bit harder. And
Thank God.
also,
I mean that they're okay.
not in the Fastiverse, but core to the DNA of
Our
the show,
friend.
Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson also has COVID, and they shut down the filming of the Batman to let him sort of take care of that. So it does not care if you're famous or not; it's going to mess you up. So wear a damn mask.
I wonder how many more famous people have gotten it but haven't admitted it.
Because we used to see that a lot, right? It's like, oh, this person got it or whatever, right? And then like it just kind of stopped, and now it feels like there's another wave, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if people just stop talking about it. I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's some kind of like stigma, you know? Like what really made me think about it is the timing between like The Rock coming out and saying he had it and also Chadwick Boseman coming out Chadwick Boseman dying and not nobody knowing that he had cancer. Like the juxtaposition of those two things. I was like wondering like how many people that are like athletes or like actors and stuff like got it, didn't have it cuz we really only heard of Tom Hanks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of, in terms of massive people. Yeah, I think that there is, to your point, like I think there's a stigma, but like it's not unless you're out like there was a wedding in Maine where like 147 people got COVID because like they just.
Yep.
Whatever. Like, unless you're doing something like that, which is idiotic, I don't think that you should be blamed. Just the world we live in, where everything is politicized, and you're like, oh, whatever, right? Like, I think
Yep.
it's just easier just to be like, no, but again, like normalize it, right? Like just be like, hey, I got it. I was being safe. Our housekeeper got it, or the child care person or whatever.
These people were in contact with a ton of people. I'm sure they have like handlers and bodyguards
Well,
and
the Rock in his 11 minute, which by the way, I love you, the Rock, but like let's tighten these up a little bit. But like he said about like I think it was someone like one of the people who works for him. I think might have been like somebody who helps out with their kids. She had it and brought it into the house and like just make
yeah.
one not lapse in judgment, but you think that somebody else is safe and you're doing everything right and you're wearing a mask, but then in your home you bring I don't know, right?
This is the thing that people have to be paying attention to. Is it like you're like, oh yeah, I'm good, and then like you run into like one person, and it's like one person just needs to not be behaving,
Yep.
and it might not have even been your fault, and like you just come into contact with them, and this is what happens. So
Yeah.
just be extra careful, guys. A lot of my friends have just decided that they're over it, and bless them. That's all
Over
I
it
can
as in
say.
like just they're not going to worry about it anymore.
Kinda. I mean, like they're like, like they'll like half the time worry about it, but then they'll be like, oh yeah, like I was doing this and this and
Well,
this,
yeah,
and
it's
we're
like that's
like,
the thing. Like you can't if you're gonna do it, like if you're gonna do that, by all means, I mean, don't. But like, why worry about it half the time then, right? Like if you're gonna
yeah,
like it's the same thing. Like now that in New Jersey, like restaurants are open again, indoor dining like 25% capacity, and movie theaters are open, and other performance venues, and like there's like this little like park in town that has like a water thing, and like that reopened, and like I don't get it. Like it's no different now than it was in March. Like we're closer to a thing, but we don't have a vaccine or anything, and
no,
maybe
no.
hospitals are a little bit better equipped to handle it, but we're no different. It's just
No, it's
I don't
not.
know.
People just gave up on it, and God bless them. I hope that nobody gets sick. That's all I'm saying.
But, it happens every day. Joe, any other news? I have one little thing that's not quite related, but sort of related, but anything you saw since we last recorded?
It was Idris Elba's birthday.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, like I think yesterday, recording days wise. So
Oh, no, today.
okay, then it's today. Happy birthday, Idris Elba.
And also Lauren Lapkus, who is not at all related to the Fastiverse, but I love Lauren Lapkus. She's a comedian. She's wonderful. So happy birthday, Idris, and happy birthday, Lauren Lapkus. The other thing I wanted to say,
What?
and this ties in two different different ways. So I was talking about a couple episodes ago that movie She Dies Tomorrow, written and directed by Amy Seimetz, with the surprise Michelle Rodriguez at the end. Last
Okay.
episode I talked about why she was in that. She just wanted to
Yep,
do weird
yep,
shit.
yep.
So Criterion brings people in. Like, I don't know if they do this in person anymore, but they would used to do like a video series where, like, in New York they actually have like the library or whatever, and I think it's just like where they ship the DVDs from or whatever.
Okay.
And they would bring filmmakers in and just be like, hey, pick out 10 movies that mean something to you, and like talk about like why the movies. Like a really cool kind of thing, whatever, right?
Okay.
And so Criterion, for the most part, is like movies that I've never heard of, movies that I've heard of and like probably haven't seen yet, or just like the very few that I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So Amy Seimetz comes in to talk about She Dies Tomorrow. She did a first movie called Sun Don't Shine. So I'm scrolling through the list and just like, I've never heard of this, never heard of this, never seen this, never heard of this. But tied for 10th, her last one on the list, Two Lane Blacktop.
Ooh.
And she ties this with a movie
Nice.
called Badlands, which is a Terrence Malick movie, which is great, which past guest Tobin Addington absolutely loves. She says, these two films give me a nostalgia for the 70s, even though I wasn't alive then. They also heavily inspired Sun Don't Shine, but they opened me up to masculine movies that have a softer side. In Two Lane, you have these men racing their muscle cars, but you also have this soft-spoken James Taylor character. And in Badlands, you have the sweet Sissy Spacek matched with the unhinged Martin Sheen. There's also this very 70s renegade feeling to them. They're very American. I don't think they could have been made anywhere else. Two Lane is the closest thing you could get to a James Benning movie in commercial cinema. And James Benning is just an independent filmmaker from Milwaukee who's made movies that I've never heard of before. But basically, I think kind of what we talked about, like this is like a big movie for being so kind of weird and ethereal, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I just thought it was
agree.
cool that this
Very
director,
cool.
who is not really at all tied to the Fastiverse, other than having Michelle Rodriguez in 5 minutes of her movie, loves Two Lane. So, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, very, very cool.
Anything else that you've seen? Any other news? Any other thoughts or anything like that?
Nope.
All right, Joe. Then the Ana Lucia Cortez, Leticia Ortiz Lost for a Minute episode, the 23rd Psalm, which I believe is season 2, episode 10. This is a Mr. Echo episode,
Our
who is
first
one of
one,
my favorite
yep.
characters. I love Mr. Echo. We also get some crossover with him and Charlie that we find out that the Virgin Mary statues filled with heroin originated
Yes.
with Mr. Echo in his king, drug lord in kind of a small town or whatever. That
Not small
plane
town.
that crashed on the island originated from there, which is kind of a cool crossover.
It is a very, very cool link, and this is something that I don't think we've gotten any of these like really big like somebody's in the background of something else type things in a while, so I was enjoying that.
Well, very briefly, we did not talk about it, but on the last episode, what Kate did when she visits her dad, or she thinks is her dad, but just, I guess, was not her biological father, which we find out. When she visits him at the Army recruiting office, on a TV in the background is Saeed. So there's a little bit of that.
Ooh, I missed that. Okay.
So you said you love this episode. I like this episode a lot. I didn't love this one. Like, this is not one that I would say. I mean, I love Mr. Echo. He's one of my favorite characters. But what did you love about this episode? Because there's very, very barely any Anna, so we shouldn't talk about it too long. But you said you love this one. Great episode. What'd you love about it?
Oh, I thought it was really good. I like the getting the answer, right? We were just talking about this with Justin, like getting the answer of like where the plane came from.
Yep.
That's always a good thing to have in these. I like that we got a Mr. Echo episode because it's a new character that we hadn't done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like just going back and like watching Jack do something again. I was liking, that we went to like another country, wherever Mr. Echo is from. So it's not just like another part of like California or whatever. They're kind of international. For the Letty part, I was really excited that Sun and Jin forgave Letty for shooting Shannon because they also realized how annoying Shannon was. So they were like, thank you for shooting her, and they gave her a fish, I think.
Yeah,
And
so
I
at
was
the
like,
end of the episode, like what normally in the space where there's normally like a musical montage, we have Mr. Echo saying the 23rd Psalm to Charlie about, the way we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And
Yep.
we have people all over the island doing different things, and Anna's making a fire, and Sun and Jin bring her a fish, and also just shake, like basically introduce themselves and just say, hey, here's a fish.
I found like some fun, like funny things that like I was laughing about to myself. Like Charlie's on a desert island. He is a rock star and got thrown out of his like hut that he's stepfathering a child that isn't his in. And I was like, how are you like there's one like eligible like young guy on this island who's famous, and he's like in the doghouse, right? Like I was like, wow, man, like you had to really fuck this up, like to be like at this point. So I thought that was really enjoyable to me, just because it was funny, because Charlie's like always a mess. And then Walt just using fucking ICQ over here, talking to Michael, whatever he feels like on the computer, is like interesting, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Those were my fun. And we got like very little Jack in this.
Yep.
Which was nice. We got very little Kate in this.
Yep.
This is why this was such an enjoyable episode for me. Like, I'm done with them. Like, Sawyer got a haircut that didn't look like a haircut. Fine, whatever. But, like, yes, cool.
What I think is really funny, just because like we've reached a point where they don't know what to do with certain characters. They're like, okay, Claire had the baby, now what? Like, who's Claire now? Last time we saw her, she said the same thing, just like, I can't believe how religious Charlie is. Like, he just got this statue. It's like, yeah, we heard you say that to Locke last time. Like, she's having the same conversation. Like, we can imagine her having the conversation with everybody. Like, Jack, can you believe that Charlie is religious? Like, he loves the statue. It's just like, but she's like telling people like Locke, who like knows, or like he's like, well, this is weird, and then she tells Mr. Echo, who like knows the statue or whatever, and he breaks the statue, and like give her something to do. But now she's got the baby. I honestly do not remember whether Claire lives or dies. I want to say probably lives, but I don't remember what her arc is now that she had the baby, because like it's like, okay, there's a pregnant woman on the plane. She had the baby. Now what?
It's done.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. We're halfway through season 2, and she's just like, I don't know. Even like Hurley.
So Hurley, there's more. I think he's more important to the grand scheme. But like, you're gonna see if you continue on. Like, they basically drop away a lot of characters, and they're just like, cool. Here's who we're focusing on, and like this is the core group. And there's people that you don't know yet, people that they're adding in different ways. But like,
Makes sense.
They're already kind of separating the wheat from the chaff a little bit. And like Claire is just like, can you believe Charlie? Religious?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
The only other thing that I wanted to point out was we get Mr. Echo versus the smoke monster, and he stares it down.
Oh, yeah, that was cool too. A little mythology type situation going on there, which I really enjoyed.
Like, we've seen the smoke monster, I think, a little bit before, but this is like the first like serious look at it, and like he just stares into the.
Is that the official name for it, or is that just what you call it?
That's what people. I don't remember. I think it's. I mean, it's
like
the official name
fans?
that people refer to it as.
Okay.
You find out more about it later, but yeah, smoke monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know if you were like, that's like a Joe name for it, like a nickname
Nope.
that you gave it, or if that's like the fan name for
That's
it.
what I think they probably refer. I think they've referred to it in different ways. They're just like, have you seen that thing or whatever? But yeah, no, smoke monster. That's the name.
Okay, cool.
Any other thoughts about the 23rd Psalm?
No, that was just a fun one. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm sad that we had no Letty in that one, but like I gave you. Do you agree with my logic now, or my reasonings on why I enjoyed this episode?
I think it seems like when you get answers to things, you love the episode.
Yes, and I don't have to watch Jack and Kate have sexual tension for 45 minutes.
But you love that last episode too, so that's all it was about. So
No, that last episode was good though. For what happened in the last one, I forget.
well, that was the Kate episode.
No.
That was the three-way love triangle. That's exactly what you're saying you don't like, but you love that
Yeah,
episode.
but it gave me the answer to what she did.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it, and there was the tension in it. So
Yeah.
yes.
Well, the next episode we're covering is called The Hunting Party, and I don't remember what they're hunting or who that hunting party is, but the
They're
hunting
gonna go
party
find Walt.
next.
He told him he would put a party together to go find him. That's definitely what they're about to do.
Then they're hunting some Waltz. Joe, the last thing to do is the Fast and Furious minute 84, a minute I called. Again, this is a difficult one because like we're in the middle of an action scene. Unhook yourself.
I want to call it "unfuck yourself." What's that? What's that from? Like, what's the quote from? What he's like, "You better unfuck yourself." Full Metal Jacket, I think.
There's a bunch. If you just Google "unfuck yourself," there's like a guy who wrote a book called "Unfuck Yourself: Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life."
I think I'm thinking of Full Metal Jacket though. Like, you better unfuck yourself.
Yeah, "Unfuck Yourself." Private Joker. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman directing
Yep.
Private Joker to unfuck himself.
Yeah, when I was watching it, that's what I was thinking about.
So minute 84, unhook yourself.
I can't get my
In this minute, Dom continues to try to rescue Vince from the truck as he flails about. Dom approaches in his car as the truck driver slams on his brakes, spinning Vince to the side. The truck driver fires 3 more times at the side, once through the window, once through the door, and once that we don't see that hits one of Dom's tires.
Yeah, and he didn't use quarters either. He used real bullets.
Yeah.
Resident Evil joke. Little Resident Evil joke there?
This, I think, bodes not well for future movie minutes because, like, when we're in an action scene, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to write down. I don't know what to call this. I don't know what trivia question to be. It's just like, yeah, it's basically the same minute as last time. Vince is flailing about.
Yes. So I got some more stuff from the truck, though.
Okay.
K&J Transports is from El Paso, Texas. As Nick let us know, it's also on the cab.
Cool.
So it's a K&J Transport truck, and it matches the trailer, but it's both. I got the cab number, got the DOT number. There's like a whole bunch of numbers all over this truck, got all of them.
Cool.
The thing that we talked about last minute that I want to bring back up this minute is like the thing on the back of Letty's chair. Did you see it this minute?
It looks like just like a piece of duct tape.
It looks like a piece of duct tape, but as I was watching, I asked Rachel, like, what do you think that this is? And she saw it, because it cuts back to Letty again. It's still behind her head. And then it cuts over, and Dom has one too. So either this is like 2 markers for their stuntmen, which it most likely might be, right? Like a height thing, or just like, like where you put your head.
Okay. Or
they have the exact same seat covers on their Honda Civics. The seat covers have some wacky tag on them.
Normally, when you have marks for things like they're on the ground, like places to walk to or hit or whatever, I don't know what this could possibly be for, unless it's like for the camera to focus on the right height. Like it might be a height thing for the camera to focus, but like I can't imagine. I don't know. Because like
either.
Whenever we're looking in the car like that, like the stunt driver's not going to be in there because if we're in the car, we're seeing Vin Diesel, we're seeing Michelle Rodriguez. We're not seeing somebody else, right? So like I don't know, it's weird, but like I see it now and I don't have answers.
I don't have answers either, but I just found it confusing and I'd never noticed it before, so I'm not going to unsee it.
If it is like a seat cover, like a headrest cover, it's the most boring headrest cover in the history of headrest covers.
Well, I mean, these are non-discrete black Honda Civics that just happen to have green running lights, but yes.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to say that Letty saying "son of a bitch" at the beginning of the minute, like I love that line delivery. I don't know why, like it feels like, because I think she's having fun with it because she's like come on, like she wants the guy to shoot at her, right? And then like she gets shot, and she's like this was a dumb idea. Like what am I doing? So I just think that the way she delivers that "son of a bitch" line was pretty good. The only possible trivia question I can come up with, and I don't know if this is a good one or not, and I don't know if you have a better one or not, but I wrote down when Dom is trying to rescue Vince, he counts to 3 to give Vince a countdown to jump. What happens when Dom reaches 3? And the answer is the truck driver slams on his brakes, which makes it feel like the truck driver can hear him, but like there's no way the truck driver can hear him.
I mean, maybe.
It's so loud. It's so loud. Like, trucks are loud on their own, and like...
Yeah, or he just, like, happens to slam on his brakes at the same time.
I think it's more so that, but like, when we're watching, Dom goes 1, 2, 3. As he says 3, it cuts to the truck driver's, like, the pedals, and he slams on the brake, and then Vince flails around.
Yep.
I just don't know what else happens in this minute, because, like, all the dialogue is like...
No.
All the dialogue is like, ugh, Vince, help!
Yeah.
Is this okay? Like, I don't have another question.
We could do a no question minute.
I like having a question a minute. I feel like maybe for future movies we don't have to do that, but I feel like we're 85 in. We might as well, or 84 in, or whatever. Like,
yeah, this is fine. I can't think of anything, but this is the only thing that I would have come up with as well. I had a similar thought when I was trying to come up with a question.
So what are some other things that we could say?
He shoots through the door.
Okay. The truck driver slams into Dom.
Yeah, that's a good one. Flips Letty the finger.
Okay.
Right? I mean, come on, like...
When Dom is trying to rescue Vince, he counts to 3 to give Vince a countdown to jump. What happens when Dom reaches 3? The truck driver flips Letty off, the truck driver shoots through the door, the truck driver slams into Dom, the truck driver slams on his brakes. The answer is D. Well, Joe, let's take a break. Let us hear a word from our Wes interlude, and let's talk about Resident Evil.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 124, Resident Evil. This episode's brought to you by the Memory Lab. What is the Memory Lab? It's a place. The lab provides equipment for digitizing home movies and scanning photographs and slides. It's a do-it-yourself model, meaning they provide step-by-step instructions, but you control the process from start to finish. Shout out Memory Lab, DC Public Library.
Well, shout out Memory Lab, shout out DC, shout out Rachel, shout out everyone here. Shout out specifically to Nick Burris for sponsoring this episode as part of the Patreon perk. Thank you, Nick, for supporting us over there and for having us watch this movie. With us today, special surprise guest. That's to be determined because we have not recorded the intro to this yet. She joined me. I teased this. Joe, I teased this when we previewed this, but we did an episode of Third Time's a Charm like 6 months before it came out. It took so long for Mike to edit that, and I don't know why. I was saying that I watched the third one, and I didn't watch the first two, and I was like, I don't know, I don't have any context or anything that's going on here. I mean, I'd seen them both forever ago. Watched the third one, I was like, I don't know. And then our guest was like all about it. She loves this franchise. I think we'll find out. I'm pretty sure. With us tonight, back from driving school lab, we have Cara Gael O'Regan. Hello, Cara.
Hello. I'm so excited to be back.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
So glad to have you back.
So now, can you please clarify or correct, do you love this franchise? I think you messaged us early in the lap. You're like, are you doing the Resident Evil movies? We're like, yeah, of course. And then you said, I would like to be on them. None of us know if you'll be joining us for the next episode. We'll find out on Sunday when we record. But can you please share your history with the franchise? If there's a particular movie of the 6 that you like the most, or what you think, just general overall thoughts about the Resident Evil film franchise.
I love it. I never played the video game.
You never played the game either. Cool. Okay.
No, but this is like one of my favorite horror franchises.
And you've seen all 6.
Horror sci-fi. I'm not sure if I've seen the last one, which doesn't bode well for the last one. Maybe. I'm not exactly like a devotee, but I've seen all of them except maybe for the last one, ? The one I like the most, and also the names are very confusing, which is really annoying because it's hard to keep track of.
Yes.
Yeah, but tell us Fast and the Furious. We get it.
Oh, yeah, right. Whichever one came out in like 2010, Retribution, Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is the second one.
Okay.
So this one came out in 2002. So Michelle Rodriguez, just for context of this, Michelle Rodriguez goes from the Fast and the Furious directly to this, directly to Blue Crush, which is like a hell of a 1 year span.
Yeah,
really.
Rowdy.
So there's Resident Evil. It was originally called Resident Evil Ground Zero, and then 9/11 happened. They're like, cool, scrapping that title, just called Resident Evil.
Good call.
I'm going to try to do this without looking it up. Then there was Resident Evil Apocalypse, which came out like 04, 05, maybe? 04 probably?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Then there was Conviction, which is the one
No, Afterlife. Oh, you're talking about there's like a weird animated thing.
Hold on.
Extinction.
Extinction.
2007.
Yeah, you're right. It is Extinction, and then it's Afterlife.
Okay.
So Extinction is the one that you and Mike and I talked about.
Right,
I guess,
that's the
right?
desert one. Yep.
Then there was Afterlife. Then there's Retribution, and then there's the final chapter.
Right.
Boy.
I like the one that came out in 2010 a lot.
So that's the 4th one. That's
Okay.
not the one. That's not the other one we're doing because, spoiler, at the end of this movie, Letty dies. Michelle Rodriguez dies.
She does.
Yeah, and I don't know how that's gonna play into this fucking thing.
Well, I know, and so we can play that game at the end. How do you think she's gonna come back?
Please.
But I haven't seen the 5th one, but I know how she returns.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason we're doing the 5th one and not like the 2nd one, because like for a while you're like, oh, maybe she's just gonna survive. They actually in the end get the antivirus, and like, oh, maybe she's gonna survive.
Her with
and then,
it even.
Nope. Zombie Letty.
Yeah, still shoot her in the head.
So your favorite one is one that we're not going to do, unfortunately. Do you remember anything about the 5th one, and without saying how she comes back, but do you remember liking that one or not liking that one?
I do. I like all of them
Okay.
to varying degrees. This first one, not as great as I remembered, but I still like it. I still think it's really funny.
Like intentionally funny or unintentionally funny?
Really riding that razor's edge, because it seems like it's taking itself really seriously, but I don't think that it is. And there are moments that make me laugh out loud.
So now, Joe, you have never seen any of these movies or played any of the games. Of them.
No, I never played the games either.
Right.
I watched this today with Rachel, and actually she was the one who, I really like this movie. She really, really liked this movie, and she said she wants to continue watching them because they were so much fun for her.
Yay.
Wow.
She was like, that was right up her alley, and she liked it, so she was like, I could definitely keep watching those. I was like, well, we're doing the 5th one on Sunday, so if you want to crank through them, we can go through all of them. And she's
Nice.
like, cool.
Part of the reason that I enjoy this franchise so much, like, aside from just, like, seeing a woman kicking ass and, like, not in a super objectified way, the thing that's great about this franchise, and I think is also true of the Terminator franchise and the Alien franchise, is that it follows this woman through, and Halloween too, follows this one woman through time and through trauma, and like the overarching storyline is like watching this person trying to deal with what they've been through, which obviously you don't really see in the first movie because they're going through the thing, and then she continues to go through all sorts of shit, but it's like constantly evolving trauma response.
I like that, yeah.
So my not very brief, but kind of brief history with this is that I honestly don't know how many times I've seen this first movie, like maybe 10, like a lot, like kind of uncomfortably a lot. Like I saw this in theaters with my dad, and then I bought the soundtrack and I bought the movie and I watched it a bunch. I don't have this movie memorized, but like there's nothing in this like caught me off guard. I'm like I remember like vividly the opening scene with like the woman getting her head stuck in the elevator and like the dogs and the Red Queen and like everything, like almost everything that like every part of this movie. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this a lot. Then I saw Apocalypse once, and then what did we say the third one was called? Extinction? Conviction.
Yes.
Extinction. Seen that one once, and then that's it. And then for the games, I don't remember if I told this story on here or not, or if I teased it. But when the first game came out for the first PlayStation, we went to, I remember my grandparents were visiting, and or maybe just my grandma? I don't remember. But it was me, my mom, and my grandma, and I would assume my sister too, but I don't remember her as part of the story. But we went to what was Walmart at the time, and they had a video rental place in there, and we rented this game. And I bring it home, and my mistake was playing it in front of them. And so they see these zombies. I mean, I'm like 9. I don't know,
but even then you should have the wherewithal to realize that Grandma's going to shit herself when she sees this.
I don't know if I fully knew what this was, honestly. I think because it's like pre-internet, or maybe not pre-internet, but like real internet, and just like I knew that like this was a thing, and like maybe it was the new game rental or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got like 5 minutes into the game, even before I realized, oh, shoot them in the head, which I don't know that these characters ever learn in this movie.
They do learn it eventually, but like it takes them a really long time.
It takes a while.
And they have to explicitly be told.
Yeah. Before I realized that, they're like, oh no, we're bringing this back. And I was like, damn it. So I brought that back, and then I've since bought many Resident Evil games and never actually played them, because like I was saying, they keep remastering them, and when they go on sale for like $5 or $10, I buy them. I really want to play. They redid 2 and they redid 3 on like the Xbox One and PS4, and like they're apparently great. Like Resident Evil 2 Remastered is like one of the games of the generation. Like people love this game. The games are about Jill Valentine, not Alice, not Mila Jovovich's character. And Jill Valentine shows up in the second movie, so she's another ass-kicking lady.
So the main character's not in this movie,
right?
From the main character, interesting.
And the main character in this, it's kind of a Giselle Gal Gadot thing, where it's like the entire movie goes by and you don't know her character's name. And like, I think there's a little bit more of a justification there, because she has amnesia, which is a very
you're remembering
nice
with her, so it's kind of excused, right? Like it's part of the storyline.
It's not like Fast and Furious where it's just like, hey, sexy lamppost, like let's just let's not give you a name. Like there's kind of a reason, but it's also weird that you don't know her name is Alice until the credits. So yeah, the video games are about a character who's not in this. Still think to this day this might be like the best video game movie, or one of the best video game movies.
I mean, as a person who doesn't play video games and has not seen all of the video game movies, I think that this is such a faithful and like kind of devoted approach to making a video game movie, instead of just being like, let's just take these characters and a story and like put it into a movie. Like the structure of the film and like all of its accoutrement are like really pay homage to like the form of the video game, which I think is really cool.
Actually, I need to take that back. I still do really like this movie, but I want to say in the last couple of years there have been Detective Pikachu, which I was not thrilled with, because I'm too close to Pokemon to actually enjoy that movie. I'm like, no, this isn't not my Pokemon. So there's a Sonic the Hedgehog movie that was pretty interesting, pretty good.
I loved Sonic. I was a big fan, and I loved Detective Pikachu too.
Wait. Like the new one? Did that come out?
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one came out like in February, in the before times.
All of
it came out like
my
right before.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters, and that was one of the last ones I saw in theaters.
Oh, buddy.
A couple years ago, there was the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider, and I like the Tomb Raider ones too. What's weird is that I think of those as, although I guess now there's no Tomb Raider, I think of those more as movies than games. But they are games, and they're still games. Like there's like the whole trilogy. But the Tomb Raider, the Alicia Vikander one, and even the Angelina Jolie ones, for what they are not bad.
Tomb Raider was not bad. I mean, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember watching it when it came out, and I was like, oh, that's pretty decent.
The like high watermark, I think, until this point, until 2002, was also a movie done by this same director, Paul W.S. Anderson, did Mortal Kombat in 1995.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That is kind of objectively bad, but also like wonderfully fun and weird. And the sequel, Annihilation, is not good, but like that's pretty good. And the 1994 Street Fighter is not bad. Like they're not great, but they're like kind of goofy and fun. But the guy who did Mortal Kombat did this movie, and then also would wind up marrying Mila Jovovich.
Mm-hmm. And she's played a really, really integral role in developing this character and making choices about her costumes and how she...
That's cool.
Yeah, and how this character would react to things and stuff like that. So she's very much like a co-creator of this franchise, the film and the film character. And she does all of her own stunts, too.
Do you know about the drama behind the scenes?
Which one?
The big drama that pertains specifically to why we're covering it.
I guess not.
Girl Fight comes out. Girl Fight gets all this buzz. It wins Sundance. She wins the Film Independent Spirit Award. She wins the Gotham Award for Best Debut. Michelle Rodriguez has a ton of buzz.
Yeah.
They have this Resident Evil movie starring Mila Jovovich. This is before she and Paul W.S. Anderson are together. They cast Michelle Rodriguez as Rain, and they're like, cool, we got this hot young actress who's like, you know, winning awards and getting all this buzz. She's going to be in this Fast and Furious movie, whatever. We're going to rewrite this movie to be about Rain. Like, still have Alice as the main character, but we're going to rewrite this to be about Rain. Apparently, Mila Jovovich is like off shooting something or on a promotional tour, and then finds out the script and says, and this is when I think they were doing press for the final chapter. This is a quote. She says, "I almost quit the movie. I was shooting something else, and Paul W.S. Anderson had hired Michelle Rodriguez to play Rain. And for the record, Rain was supposed to die first, and then they got Michelle Rodriguez, and they rewrote it so that she basically lives the entire movie until the very end."
Yeah.
So she had just come off Girl Fight, and there was Oscar buzz. So she was very hot at that moment, and my hotness, Mila's hotness, had sort of been already 4 years old by that point. I guess going back to like The Fifth Element, probably, right?
Makes sense.
So Paul rewrote the script for her. She got all my big action scenes, and she became like Alice. Alice became a tag-along. So I got to the hotel, and I said, we're going to have a big talk, or I'm going to be on a flight tomorrow morning. So he came over, and we literally sat for 3 hours and went through the script page by page. He was like, what do you mean? That didn't change that much. And I was like, okay, why don't we start with page 1? And I pointed out every time I felt like my great scenes were taken away, that's how we started our relationship. And then they got married. Like, it's just like he rewrote the entire thing to like, hot young actress, gonna blow up, whatever. She's gonna be in all these action movies for the next decade, whatever. We're going to propel her to superstardom. And Mila, to your point, Cara, is like, no. Like, this is like, I'm going to help influence this, and you're not going to take this away from me. She is like, when you think of the Resident Evil stuff, like she's the face and the name that comes to mind.
Yeah. Oh, I hate this so much.
Not great, and it's even weirder that they got married.
Well, yeah, and it just goes to show just how this like culture of scarcity for women in film in general, but particularly in action movies, it's like there are so few juicy roles for women, and like even in this movie where actually there's a lot of women in it, and like most of them have like pretty interesting parts, but like, you know, that they have to like fight over scraps, it's a bummer.
Yeah. It is a bummer. Huge bummer.
It's like they're undead zombie dogs licking the meat off themselves.
Sure.
To that point, like, this is a pretty diverse, multicultural, multi-ethnic, like, there's like, and I mean, a lot of them die almost immediately. Like, they get to that laser hallway, and like, so okay, take a step back. So this movie's about a zombie outbreak. There is a company called the Umbrella Corporation that basically owns everything in the world. They develop this virus. Their scientists develop a virus. We later find out that Mila wakes up with amnesia, but like, she was part of a plan to steal and weaponize and sell the virus and make a lot of money.
I don't know. I it's my understanding that actually like they were trying to
double agent it, kind of.
I'm not sure. I feel like, well, right, she like wanted to take down the Umbrella Corporation, and the guy that she was fake married to wanted to weaponize, like wanted to steal and sell the virus.
Okay, so they have different ends, but it's the
Right.
same means, right?
Right,
So it's
which
like
is
they're
to
both
infiltrate,
stealing.
take them
Yes,
down, etc.
yes. Blue for the virus, green for the antivirus. And so
Which,
while they're leaving, Spence, I think, is the guy, throws the vial. It goes into the air. Terrible time to watch a movie about this kind of pandemic.
I know.
Everyone in Umbrella Corporation dies as the computer protector goes into hyper control mode and shuts the building down and kind of essentially contains the virus, or so we think.
almost as an autoimmune response, just like COVID. It's not necessarily the virus that kills you; it's your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why. Never mind. I'm not making any.
And just like COVID, sometimes an elevator kills you too.
Also,
yes,
that,
exactly.
I was actually at the part where the building like gasses them. I thought like, oh, it's true. Given the opportunity, your employer really will let you die from a deadly virus, and or would rather gas all of its employees than deal with a biohazard or bad PR. I think we've learned that in the last several months.
And now that Amazon's getting into pharma, I mean, just get ready.
Oh God, yeah, they're gonna be Umbrella Corporation. It is Amazon.
Yeah.
So we then cut to this mansion, this huge building on the property of the Umbrella Corporation, where Mila Jovovich wakes up with no memory of who she is or where she is or what's going on. You have a SWAT team, essentially. Not SWAT, starring Michelle Rodriguez, which we may get to this lap. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But there's a SWAT team that comes in, and they take her and they take her fake husband, and they go down into the Umbrella Corporation, into where this viral outbreak happened, to investigate what went wrong. They're all employees of Umbrella. They're all like internal like cleanup crews, essentially. Things break bad.
Do you know how many times I had it Googled during this movie if this, because they were in a house above the lab, if this movie, the title was Resident Evil or Residence Evil? I had to double check myself so many times. Like every time I would be like, no, it was definitely Resident Evil, right? And I'd be like, but there, it's a residence. Is the residence evil?
But you know, like, from popular culture,
oh,
like,
I know.
from lexicon, that it's not one.
I do. Yeah, that's 100%
I'm surprised that
true.
there isn't a Residence Evil movie or game or something.
Right? But, like, it made sense. They were like, this house was right above the lab. I was like, is this movie called Resident Evil or Resident... And I had to Google it. I did.
Sounds like a great name for a ghost movie.
A haunted mansion?
Yeah.
They announced a new, like, the Resident Evil 8 game is going to be called Resident Evil Village. Biohazard is some kind of corporation. Like, the Resident Evil 7 was called Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
How is it not Residence Evil instead of Resident Evil Village?
Get past that. Get past that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'm just talking about I'm essentially talking about what you're talking about without talking about what you're talking about.
Okay.
So Resident Evil 7 is called Biohazard. Resident
Yes.
Evil 8 is called Village. There was a game that just came out on Steam called Biohazard Village that is about a zombie apocalypse that has nothing to do with it, and like Capcom is not happy.
I saw this news today, actually, when I was
funny.
searching for the name of the game.
Also, I just want to close this tab, but I do want to say that there was a movie called DOA, Dead or Alive, which is the fighting game, with our girl Devon Aoki in it. So that's also one of the better... I mean, that's like a 30% of Rotten Tomatoes, but Rotten Tomatoes has a ranked 1 to 43 in terms of tomato meter, and that's like almost in the top 10. There have not been a lot of great video game movies, is what I'm trying to say.
Apparently, yeah.
So as the movie goes on, they fight a bunch of zombies, they fight a bunch of zombie dogs. Basically, everybody dies. In the end, Mila Jovovich gets kind of taken, like, other people swoop in to, like, take her out to extract her, and then she wakes up once again, alone, disoriented, goes outside into the world. The outbreak has broken out across the world. The dead walk, reads newspaper headlines, and things are bad, and set up a franchise. But set up a franchise in a way that I feel doesn't feel icky or gross. Like, everything now has to be a franchise, and I feel like this is kind of like a, shit, like, I would watch more movies, but it doesn't have to be
Same.
more movies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really liked it. I mean, because it's like, it's an outbreak. There's an apocalypse. There's a virus. And like, we only saw the very beginning of this story. Like, it could keep going on. So it doesn't feel like it was forced to be a franchise, right?
Yeah. Was this before or after 28 Days Later?
This is the same year, I think, or maybe the year before, but like they're both 02, 03. This is 02, but I think 28 Days is like 02, 03, but it's right around the same time.
Yeah, because it's a very similar situation. She like wakes up in a, not exactly a hospital, but...
Yeah, this movie kind of ends as that one begins.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, so you had never seen this before. You've never played the games. Thoughts about the movie? I know that Rachel loved it. What do you think?
I really liked it. There was a lot of cool things in it. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad that Michelle Rodriguez was in it prominently.
Yeah.
That's like a big bonus.
Once again.
You know, we were just talking about, when we were watching Girl Fight, that we were really nervous at like some of her earlier movies, like especially now she makes a jump from Girl Fight Fast and Furious, and then she comes into Resident Evil, this is definitely where we could see her getting like shelved or like given a minor role in like a big movie, and she's not. She's there the whole time, so that's cool. They immediately code her male again.
I love it. Like her first line is like "blow me."
Yep.
Exactly, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like we didn't need to do that, but sure. I guess we have to do that every movie that we're watching with her now. So cool.
It's not even that. It's just that she has to be stereotyped as the most aggressive aggro alpha of anybody. Like she has to be not only one of the boys, but like king of the mountain. Like every one of her lines is like "blow me," "bitch isn't standing now," "I'm not dead yet," "your boyfriend's a real asshole." It's like these are all like tough guy one-liners, but like not even just guy. It's like the toughest of the tough guys.
Yeah, I wonder when that's going to become, like, cool to us that, like, oh, cool, they're giving her lines that were normally reserved
probably
for,
never.
like, an alpha male, and that's interesting, instead of them being like, oh, they're coding her male, so, like, we have to sit through Michelle Rodriguez giving lines that are, like, blow me from the beginning of the movie on, and you're like,
It's going to be
fuck.
interesting when they add nuance.
Yeah, the thing that's frustrating to me about it is that like not all of these parts, but so many of them could just have been written for a man, and like they're just like,
Yep.
I guess we'll cast her, but like not change anything
No.
about
Yeah,
that
they don't change any of
character.
the lines.
I appreciate the effort, but we're gonna need a little more.
And I feel like there is a real opportunity that they don't really, that I want to say they maybe do a little bit more of with Jill Valentine in the second movie, but like you have basically this movie is about two women, like
Right.
two different like there's kind of again visually and just personality wise, Alice is a little bit more feminine. She's wearing the dress the whole time. We got Michelle Rodriguez, one of the guys on the SWAT team. Like there's a dynamic about two women trying to survive whatever this is that they don't know yet,
Yeah.
and they don't do anything with that.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's disappointing, not in like a sexism way, although that too, but like just narratively, it's like you have the potential here to do something more. And I do think that they tell an actual story, which I feel like so many video game movies don't really do. But I feel like there's the opportunity to like develop more characters. Like I think like Alice, for better or worse, like is kind of a pretty decently okay sort of fleshed out character that's going to grow in future movies, but like you don't have anything. Like it feels like she's kind of on her own trying to swim in nothingness, murkiness, and like
Yeah, well,
give her
that's
something.
true of the entire franchise. Like, that's part of the character. She's a blank slate. She's a Neo.
I like that. That makes sense. And it kind of plays well.
It does, and you'll see as you watch the rest of the movies that device of like her waking up and not knowing what's happening. They use that over and over and over and over again.
Well, I mean, it happens twice in one movie.
Right,
so,
it happens
yeah.
twice in one movie. But that's like a repeating motif throughout the franchise.
And I think it's a good way to start a game too, right?
Of
like
course,
that's a
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
You're like oh, you're thrown into the game, but like you wake up and you have amnesia, and it's
Right.
like that's a perfect way to start to be like, okay, you don't need to know anything. We'll teach you as you go.
Well, something that I was thinking about when I was watching this, and I know that this is your memory loss lab or whatever, but and I say that as somebody with memory loss, so I can joke about it. But I was thinking about like amnesia stories for women, and I was just watching this like, is this a projection of our constant fear of being roofied or something? Because like, which I don't like, and I don't know how pervasive that fear is outside of like my specific generation who were trained to like constantly be vigilant about the fact that we were going to get roofied at any moment. Like, I don't know if that's how common that fear actually is, and like if that's somehow at the root of stories about women who don't know who they are.
I think it's true because I know like a lot of women that are like, yeah, I definitely got roofied once.
Yeah,
and you're
no,
like, ugh.
literally any woman you talk to between like who was born between like at least 1980 and 1992 will have a story about them or several of their friends getting roofied.
Yeah,
Because there's
so
also
weird.
visually in this movie, there is the vulnerability of like waking up naked. There's the nudity. There's like the always like, is there somebody over my shoulder? And like I know that's all kind of also conventions of a horror movie, which probably also plays into that. But the amnesia element too, which is like you can't be more vulnerable, I don't think, than like waking up naked and alone,
Yeah.
unaware of where you are or who you
And
are.
who
right?
you are.
Right.
Yeah.
And not even
And that
knowing what you're
twice.
capable of. Yeah.
one thing amnesia related that we've seen a couple times is Lap that happens, but she fails. I don't know if it's passing or failing, but Joe, we once again get the handwriting test. Is this me? Because we saw it in Memento,
Oh,
we saw it in Total
yes.
Recall, and we see the note here, and she like writes the same note. It's like, is this me? Oh, it's not me. So I don't know if it's a pass or a fail or just like whatever, but we see that time and again where people are just like, am I like what does my handwriting look like? And this is the first time that it's different.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't. You know what? To be honest, I didn't even catch that. That's what she was doing. I thought that she was like finishing the note or writing like another part of it, not giving herself the handwriting test. But yeah,
I mean, I don't know to what end there. I guess just trying to get some kind of clue, like, is this me, like, or is this to me? I guess, but like,
yeah.
I don't know. And we also get another pit stop connection when Letty shows up, when Rain shows up, Rain, her name Rain. After she swoops in, like when they actually get down to the tunnels, she's like welding or something, and she's wearing the mask that she wore in Blue Crush. Like she was working on the surfboard there. She's like welding or sort of soldering through the door, but like again,
Is it the
not
same
only
movie prop? Did you look it up? Is that a trivia fact?
she just carried it from one movie to the next. She's like, oh no, I
To
got
Hawaii.
it. Like, again, not only is she like one of the guys, but she's doing like the manliest activity, like working with fire and heavy machinery.
Of course, always.
But she gets bitten in this movie, I think, more than anybody else. Like she
Oh my
keeps getting
God.
bitten, and I'm like, poor Letty.
So this is what I kept thinking because like I'm watching this movie. I haven't seen any of the other ones. I know we're doing the fifth one, and like she gets bitten, and I'm like, and Rachel's like, oh fuck, she got bit. Like, and like the first one, you're like, it kind of like she got bit, but there's like scuffle or something, and you're like, okay. And then she like wraps her hand. You're like, oh, she definitely got bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there has to be some kind of cure at the end of this, or like something, because we know we're doing the fifth one, and like I don't know how this happens now.
Well, so what do you have any guesses on how she comes back? I don't want to see how she comes back because I don't want to frame it like that's what happens, but like why Michelle Rodriguez is in the fifth movie.
I gotta guess that it's a prequel. That's like the only thing that makes sense to my
Okay.
mind. That it gotta be like like she's in a flashback, or there's a backstory, and it's a full prequel, and like they go back to like what happened before this, and she's part of that.
Do you want to know?
No, I don't want to know.
Okay.
I don't want to know. I want to be surprised.
Do you want to know if you're right or wrong or no?
No, don't tell me anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go in blind, and I might watch the other ones in between first. So.
Because like I haven't seen it, but I know how she's in it, and I think it's
And if they
interesting.
just bring her back as a zombie, I'm gonna be so mad. Like if she's just like a passing zombie, like down there that like never left.
From what I
I'd be
understand, and
like,
Cara, you can maybe confirm this, is that she's in it a good amount. Like there's a reason to cover it.
Yeah.
It's not like she's just like in a scene or like, hey, she's a zombie. Like look at a cameo by Michelle Rodriguez. Like I think from what I understand, she's in it a fair amount. And
I haven't seen that one in a while, and I'm not sure what the threshold is for, quote, a fair amount. But she's definitely not just like an
One
extra
scene.
zombie. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that.
okay,
Perfect.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, she's the first one to get bitten. She gets bitten again when she tries to save her friend from the zombie elevator. She
Yep.
gets bitten again and again, including by JD. And
Yep.
then finally at the end, they give her the virus. They give her the cure.
It was too late.
We think she dies, but then she's like, "No, I'm not dead yet." And then she's actually zombie. So it's like, "Oh boy, like what a roller coaster."
Also, she was like the most badass one. She seems like she fought it off for like a very long time, and like didn't get like the one guy got bit like way later than her. Is like, I can't make it anymore, and she's like just trugging along like totally fine, no symptoms, no sweating for like a while.
Listen, all of us have different immune systems, and
It's very
diseases
true.
affect people very differently. I think
It's
we're all
very,
learning that
very
right
true.
now.
I was more admiring her perseverance
Mhm.
against it. Look at what a strong immune system she must have.
Look at what a man she is. Look at her. Look at a man
Yeah, I
up
mean
against
that's
that
what
virus.
it comes down to. You know, people
Right,
think
yeah.
that they can tough it out through illness or whatever, and like that is why men die like 10 years before women on average.
Well, also because
Yep.
men just don't wear masks that cover their nose. Also, I do
Also
want to make
that.
a particular note that our friend, this is now like a week ago as this comes out, but our friend and past guest of the show, Austin Wolf Southern, went viral in a big way by tweeting out a picture of a mask that he designed, which he did not design, and now he's actually designing because it
cut.
blew up. But Kara, did you
Yeah.
see this or no?
I don't think so.
So he designed a mask for people who want to be protected but also look like a fucking idiot was the tweet. And it's a mask that looks like your nose is dangling at the top, but that's just part of the mask design. I saw it like when it had like 30 retweets last night and I retweeted it. And then now it has like 25,000 because it was like number one on
Oh,
Reddit.
yeah.
And like he's actually designing it and like people are reaching out to him to like get it designed. And so like it's just a very funny like where he's like, this is just a stupid idea, like a joke. And then people are like, oh no, I want that mask. So I don't know.
It's really funny. It is really funny.
And the funniest thing, or one of the funny things, is that like it looks like his nose, like it's a perfectly aligned, like it's probably
I
just
think he just cut the top of the thing off, and they want to design one that looks like it. He just like cut in between the like band that goes over your nose in a surgical mask,
Oh,
and
I
like
see
the
it now.
cloth that goes under it, and
Yeah.
stuck his nose.
one thing that we don't have a lot of in the Fast and Furious is lasers.
Yeah, there's some good ass lasers in this.
True. We have not seen laser die like none of that Catherine Zeta-Jones goodness here, right?
Man,
Like I did
ingrained
like the
in my
laser.
brain is Catherine Zeta-Jones just playing. What's that game where you bend
Dips
backwards?
beneath the lasers.
Yeah.
Oh. What, Twister?
No,
Limbo?
Limbo. It's just limboing under
Okay.
the lasers.
In entrapment, right? Intreasement.
Yes.
I was gonna say, what movie
Intreasement.
even is that? I don't remember anything else about it.
And then the whole Workaholics episode where they just sing about her the whole time.
I mean, there's also like when you Google Catherine Zeta-Jones laser scene, this is the image that comes up. It's just her ass in between lasers. So
Yeah.
there's a
just
reason
breaking.
people like this is cemented into people's brains. There's also the super cool in Ocean's 12, the bad guy like dancing his way sort of through the lasers. Like it's super cool.
Yep.
This just like I mean,
No, nobody's dancing through lasers here, and they move. Like the first time that it moved, Rachel and I were like, "Oh, like it's these people are done for." Like, cause like he jumps, and I was like, "Okay, cool, he's gonna clear it." Cause like that's what I'm thinking, right? Like they're in the hallway, and like the one's coming like head length. I'm like, just duck, and then, like she doesn't, head gets chopped off, and then like the next one comes low, and I'm like, "Okay, cool, so just jump," and it's like, nope, it jumps up with him and cuts him in half. And I was like, "Oh." That's
but then the last one where it just becomes like a
Best.
checkerboard grid. Like the irony, not the irony, but like if he was a few steps back, like they get it at just the wrong second. So if he was like against the back of the wall, he would have survived. But how are you to know?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Oof.
Sucks. I like that he got waffled though. That was
Yeah.
pretty nice. It was a good laser
He
scene,
just
and we
slides
don't get them
away.
in Fast and Furious at all.
And also, I think for 2002, that's really good CGI. Like, not in the whole movie, but they really committed to making that look not ridiculous, I feel like.
That
Like,
looks
Yes.
great. Most of the CGI in this movie looks awful.
yeah.
Like what? Like all the monsters and stuff.
The monsters,
The
like whenever the
dogs.
The
practical
hologram
stuff,
of the little
Yeah, the
girl
Red Queen.
AI.
awful. But the dogs is all practical. Those are all dogs actually covered in like corn syrup and like meat and stuff like that. Like
That
that's
makes
all
sense.
real, and like that looks good because it's real. And like a lot of the zombies that have like the makeup effects, but then like when they do like the digital CGI zombies that are like missing part of your face and like they turn a corner, it's just like, oh, that's very bad. Not condemning this movie over any other of the
Of the
era, but like
times.
the more practical you can do, the more timeless your movie is going to be.
True.
Carrie, you're right. Like the lasers are like a high point in both memorability and also just how good it looks.
And I think they come back in like future movies too.
Cool.
Like this is Umbrella technology.
Down.
That's there was a lot that I saw in this that I was like, oh, this was like stuff that they use in later movies that was right there from the beginning that I found really interesting.
I just wanted to say, as someone that works in a lab and
Late one night?
have been dealing with coronavirus stuff, the idea that they're in a viral lab and that he can throw it and then the exhaust goes straight into the air conditioning is fucking mind-blowing to me. That's obviously not how any of that works.
Yeah.
It can't happen at all. So I was like, okay, suspend my suspension of belief a little bit.
It only doesn't work that way because they retrofitted things after he did this. Like this was the turning point.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
This
That
was when
the
they
first
figured out that
iteration.
actually ventilation is very important in virus
Yeah.
transmission.
I like that, and they like go into one part and they have like a bunch of like dishes that they're like growing, virus or cells in or whatever. But it's also they're just like on a shelf along
Yeah,
the
they're just
wall.
exposed.
They're just like out, and I'm like, no, we have like incubate. Like, there's no way that this whole room is an incubator, and you just like set them on the shelf there.
Right, and that
So,
they
like-
wouldn't be wearing protective gear.
Exactly.
all.
Yeah. There's so many weird things, but like the lab stuff, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fine, whatever. Like we're trying to get the virus out, into like people. So for the movie's sake, plot sake. So
Yeah. Also, the antivirus makes me laugh. These two things, one cancels out the other. One is one color and one is the other color. That's it. That's all it is. It's no wonder people think virology is so easy.
you know what? Now that you say that, that's probably it. Like a lot of people that are like, this is not a big deal, or like, look at Resident Evil.
Yeah. Or certain very powerful people are putting all of their eggs in very specific baskets. thinking like
True.
you're just gonna cure it with one specific medication that has nothing to do with it.
People don't understand the idea that like medications don't target like very specific things in
Oh, I know.
general. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, people
they
don't understand the concept that like we don't cure stuff. Like that's not a thing that happens. Like
Yes,
in
that
almost
too.
any disease, cures are like imaginary.
There's treatments forever.
Right.
But like the thing is like, oh, like you have this medication, virus, antivirus, right?
Mhm.
And it's never like this medication just fixes that thing. It's like, no, it's doing a whole shit ton of stuff.
Right.
But like it might help
And it
that
may
thing.
or may not be doing anything to that virus.
Exactly, yeah.
Wait, so you're saying the first thing you learn is not blue is the virus, green is the antivirus? Like that's
That's
just to sum up, that's
not.
not the first thing you learn.
No.
Sadly, no.
Blue for the virus, green
not-
for the antivirus.
it's
Okay,
not
because
what we're doing
it
in
feels
the
like
lab.
that's the takeaway from this movie.
Yeah, I know. If we could just find the green tube somewhere, we'd fix this. Fuck, we'd have got rid of coronavirus months ago.
I
Nobody can
bet
find
you
it.
Trump is sitting on a pile of green tubes right now. He's hoarding them all for himself.
The dragon in Lord of the Rings just like on top of it.
Letty sacrifices herself or is willing to. The Red Queen is like, "We'll let you out of here if we can kill her and contain the virus." And she's like, "Yeah, cool." And they're like, "No. That's no. This is like the weirdest thing. And I'm glad that there was actually an explanation. Alice just takes the fire axe that she found that she's supposed to decapitate Rain with, and instead of
Yes.
decapitating Rain, she just like smashes it into a monitor, and then like the power goes out. And I'm like, those two are not. They're not connected. But then finally, like we find out that like their captain like came back and he did a thing and like that's. But I was just like, that feels like a video game thing. Where it's like, oh yeah, just take out the monitor and like the power goes. It's like that's not how
It's all connected
technology.
to this
That's not how
one
electronics
monitor.
work. Like as
That's-
Tej
yeah.
would know, like that's not how circuits work.
I know. I like that the one guy was their Tej too. The one that had the garage door opener that shuts the power off.
Mhm.
I was like, oh man, I see a lot of Tej in him, and this is really cool that like we have Tej and they have this random guy. So
I feel like there was a real missed opportunity for someone to say reboot that bitch. Like, how did they not say that?
I don't know.
Because they,
Or, like,
they
did you try
reboot the
unplugging
computer.
it and plugging it back in?
Yeah.
Like,
That's essentially what they were doing.
I will say that speaking of that bitch, the Red Queen, who is a 3D rendering, like it's AI rendered after the designer's daughter or the developer's daughter. I'm like, that's kind of a weird flex, but okay, I appreciate that.
So
Yeah, that part of it
strange.
gets weirder.
So
Yeah.
they brought in Marilyn Manson and someone else to do the score for this movie because they wanted to have like a very
Really?
kind of industrial score. Yeah.
I didn't
And so the
realize
soundtrack
that.
of the score
That
for
makes
this
a
is
lot
really
of sense.
And I remember one of the songs, I think it's on the official thing, but there's like the Red Queen doing "You're All Gonna Die Down Here" into like a very heavy, and I'm like, that's pretty
You're
cool.
all
Like
going
that
to die
that
down
line is
here.
burned into my brain because I listen to like this soundtrack or score or whatever, and like the Matrix ones so much. Like it's basically this is my like early 2000s in this handful of movies. So yeah.
I don't love the score for this, but I did really enjoy, which I don't think I picked up on in previous watches, as she like realizes her skills, like as it's coming back to her, there are these like really heavy drums, like adrenaline drums, that I just thought were a really nice touch.
Yeah, I agree.
So yes, so Paul W.S. Anderson hired Marco Beltrami, who I'm looking up, he's done like 140 movies, and Marilyn Manson because he wanted to score similar to John Carpenter's early films, so like Halloween and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this evokes that, but I get that
No.
as an inspiration, just like a menacing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing, but yeah, I get the inspiration of it. That makes sense.
I want to see here. Hold on. I'm going to see what Marco Beltrami has scored, if we've done anything.
That name sounds extremely familiar.
I mean, he's done 139 things, so... Marilyn Manson has only scored this and Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, according to Letterboxd, so not him.
Oh.
Marco Beltrami did A Quiet Place, Logan, Snowpiercer, Ford v
Yep.
Ferrari,
Yeah.
Scream, World War Z, The
Oh,
Wolverine,
Scream. That's
Hurt
probably where I know
Locker,
the name from.
Extremely Wicked, the Zeph movie, I, Robot, Hellboy, Warm Bodies. Like, he's done...
Everything.
I've seen 42 movies that he's scored, so yeah,
Makes
he's
sense.
one of
There
the
you
most
go.
prolific. There's a reason we know that name because like we've seen it 100 times, right? So
Yeah, I think we probably brought him up a bunch too, like Ford versus Ferrari and stuff.
Do you think Trent Reznor feels really smug about how much more movie scoring work he's gotten to do than Marilyn Manson?
Probably.
he's also just like better
Better.
at things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Although only one of the two of them can blow themselves, so I mean, who's got the upper hand now, or who's got the lower rib now? Apparently,
Very
a lot of
nice.
the actors played the games to get into character, but some of them, like, I guess, were just bad at video games, so they had, like, their friends play the games and they just watched. So, Joe, like what you've been talking about in these intros where you're
I
watching
love
Rachel
it.
play games, it's kind of a cool, like, hey, I don't know how to play this game. Can you just play this and I'll just watch you? Because, like, I got to figure out what this is about.
Yeah, I more enjoyed like seeing the story than actually doing the actions a lot of the time.
And Mila said that she did this movie because her brother, one of the main reasons that she did this movie, aside from just being the lead in an action franchise or action movie or whatever, is because her brother Marco loved the games. And so she's like, yeah, I'll do that. That's pretty cool. I think she had even said that, like, if this ever comes up, like, if they ever make movies out of these games, I want to be involved. And so, when the script rights were purchased or whatever, her agents were like, yeah, here you go.
It works.
Carrie, you might remember, I'm sure you looked up all this trivia at one point before, but there's a bunch of names that were considered for Alice. So we had Gwyneth Paltrow in the role for
What?
Alice, which would be
She
kind
would
of
be
wild.
very bad at this.
Pepper Potts, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, your girl Kirsten Dunst, and Natasha Henstridge were all considered to play Jill Valentine, I guess, in an earlier version. Like, I guess it was going to be about Jill Valentine, which makes sense.
I would love to see Sarah Michelle Gellar as Jill Valentine.
But apparently they all, and I understand why, they all had an issue with the amount of violence and the amount of nudity in this movie. And so they're all like, nope. And then I think they just reworked it to be about a different
There's
character.
that much nudity?
Well, there's nudity in the beginning, and there's...
But it's not nudity. I mean, she's...
It's like not even full nudity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
It's scantily clad.
I remember seeing this movie in theaters, like I said, and I remember guys behind me being like, ooh, nipple, but like high school
There's
guys
a
with their
nipple
friends.
in this movie?
Oh yeah, you
I
see
didn't
her
even
nipple like a
notice
couple
it.
times early, but like that's exactly my point. Like I'm there with my dad. I'm 14. I'm in the prime. Like I need to see boobs wherever I can see boobs, and I didn't even see the boob. Like I just like I didn't see it. And, like I remember them hearing like I was like, wait, where's the nipple? Like what did I miss? How did I miss that? And then at the end, I think like she's fully naked under the like
Tarp?
Pieces
sheet or
of
whatever.
paper, like clinical paper that's just taped to her.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a lot more revealing than, because like otherwise she's just like in a shower thing.
Yeah, they didn't put her in like a smock or something.
Right.
But like at the same time, it's like she's still covered.
I think in the original version of the script, she was supposed to like wake up and walk outside naked, and they'd be like, yeah,
Oh,
well,
okay.
I mean, she can put a coat on, which she does
Yeah.
here, but
Which actually, and I love her costume in this, and I wonder how much she had to do with the fact that Alice puts on a leather jacket and then wears it for the entire movie instead of just running around in that little dress,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because like
true.
in what other action movie where there's like a beautiful woman in a dress running around, like who else gets to put on this like boxy leather jacket? I love that. I love that she does that. I also love that like asymmetrical skirt that she's wearing where it's like short on one end and long on the other. At some point, and I don't think we ever like actually see her do this, but she like has ripped it so it's not in her way when she runs, which I really appreciate. She's also not wearing heels, which I
and
really
she's got
appreciate.
boots on, which
Yes.
are pretty
She's wearing
form and
those
function. Yeah.
Chonky 2002 boots.
They hired professional dancers as the zombies, which I think is kind of a cool move.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that is good. I like that.
And the only other trivia that I have, because I will ignore the spoilers about how Michelle Rodriguez returns, but this is one of Roger Ebert's most hated movies. He put together, I guess, an annual most hated list, and this made that list. So, not a fan.
Why?
So I guess, rest in peace, Roger Ebert, but you never have to watch it again.
Yeah, like what would piss you off about this movie? I don't get it.
I mean,
I think if you think that it's taking itself seriously, it would be really morose and boring.
I think the pacing is bad. I think it's too slow, and then there's just like bouts of like exciting. As soon as it feels like it's getting going, like it almost like pumps the brakes again, which is kind of at times both interesting and infuriating.
And also, I feel like stays kind of true to most video game formats where you're just like wandering around for a while and then have to deal with something and then
I realize as I'm saying that, like, in the last episode that we definitely didn't just record the intro of, even though people know how we record these, I'm talking about how, like, that's exactly what I love about The Last of Us, where it's just, like, you're kind of talking for a while and then all of a sudden there's, like, a bout of action. But here, I guess, maybe because I know there's so much action to come, or, like, I know the action that's coming, whenever it is, however it is, I'm kind of like, just get there already. Like, just the frustrating thing to me is, like, them not knowing what they're dealing with, which should be cool, but it's just like, they're zombies. Shoot them in the head. Like, we know that. Like,
yes, this part got me too.
So
well, I
Just shoot 'em
also
in the head, dude.
easy for us to say after the zombie boom, but in 2002 people still knew that you should shoot zombies in the head, but it wasn't like common knowledge the way that it is now. After like 10-15 years of like all zombies all the time, I think we're like a little bit more Like, come on, guys, just shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
We all know
Zombie
how this
aware.
works. Yeah, zombie
Yeah.
aware.
We were talking about, what were we talking on? Was it on the Hanks of the Memories? I don't think it was here. Was it here? We were talking about like the recent, oh, maybe it was with John Brooks. Oh, it was, okay. It was on John's podcast. I record too many podcasts. It was on John's podcast, Hard to Believe. We were talking to the music supervisor for The Leftovers. Oh, I didn't talk about that. Talk about that later.
What?
We were talking about like the rise of kind of like afterlife and undead and stuff like that, and we're trying to figure out if like it's all a result of 9/11, which is possible, but it's also,
For
I was
sure.
thinking like The Walking Dead becomes wildly popular, and then because of the popularity, like the rise of that, everything else comes around. But like Shaun
Yeah.
of the Dead predates that, this predates that, 28 Days Later predates that. Like, I think it's all like a
All of
little
those
bit
are
of
post 9/11. You mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
But like Resident Evil was also pre 9/11. Like that, the first game I think came out like 95 ish, right? So like,
Yeah. When we were in college together, Joey, did you ever take Bonnie Blake's
Apocalyptic Visions, I did.
Best class I ever took in college. I wrote on the evaluation sheet at the end of the semester, it should be 2 semesters because it's so good, which says everything about the kind of person that I am. And I'm like, yes, the one about apocalypses. But my final project for that class was I did this research project on like the figure of death or like the Grim Reaper in popular fiction, and I looked at it from like the mid 19th century like up to that point, which was like 2008 or 2009 at that point. And there really was like exponential increase in the amount of media that contained like Grim Reaper style figures and tropes and all of that stuff after 9/11. So like while I think it's definitely true that without the success of The Walking Dead, there is no zombie boom, but I also think that without
That's a result
9/11,
of-
there is no anything else. You know what
Yep.
I mean? It's such a significant like cultural atomic bomb, really, that like has affected, like the radiation has fallen on everything that has happened since.
Yeah. I mean, a show near and dear to both of our hearts, Dead Like Me, comes out the year after, right? So, like, it's
Yep.
like almost immediate, a year and a half after. And pour one out for our podcast that never was, TV is Dead. That would have been all
Just
about
yesterday,
this.
I was like, maybe this is the time to do it. And then I was like, no, I don't. That's the last thing we need.
It's a lot of work. Joe, we
Yeah.
were going to do a podcast, Cara and me, where we just, and it was going to be the most depressing thing of all time, where we were only going to watch TV shows like about death and dying and like just the
And
darkest
grief
shit, like The
and
Leftovers.
like all that stuff.
That
and
sounds
6 Feet
super
Under.
fun.
I know.
and-
Well,
That's
I'm
what
a
I
really
wanna-
fun
that's what I
person.
wanna listen
I don't
to.
know if you know that.
No, I mean, you are a fun person. Like, that just sounds super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been really fun, I think, but it was like a lot of work, and we didn't know how to release it, and it just never wound up happening because too many other podcasts, too many other things. But like we had so many, like we were gonna do all the Buffy, we were gonna do like we had so many things planned out because Kara and I are both planners, and it just never happened. But for Bonnie Blake's class, just to put a pin on that, I wrote a paper about Muse, the band, and their apocalyptic music. And then my final paper was about how the animated sitcom handled Y2K. And I talked about Family Guy and Futurama and probably some other one.
Oh, I just rewatched the King of the Hill Y2K episode the other day. So good. Simpler times.
I miss when that was like our biggest worry, right?
Yeah. Well, when I started my current job, they proudly told me that they were about 20 years behind technologically.
Oh, so this was time for Y2K for them.
I said that. I joked with them. I was like, all right, well, that means you guys better get ready for Y2K. And then, like, COVID happened, and we had to figure out how to, like, transition our entire shit into digital stuff.
Oof.
So it was actually worse than Y2K.
Oof.
Ugh.
Joe, do you have any other thoughts, any other notes about Resident Evil? We're going to have another Resident Evil movie to talk about on
No.
Friday.
They do use an EMP, which was reminiscent of Brian's car getting shot with an EMP. And I was like, that's a little fast connection there. We covered everything that I had in notes in different ways. So
Yeah, there's not a ton of fast connections here.
there's no, I mean, there's a train.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like a train. They're not like jumping cars into it or off of it or across
Oh, yo, you gotta watch number 3. You gotta watch the third one. It's the
Okay.
Mad Max of the Resident Evil. Like, it's all cars. Or not cars, but
Okay.
like vehicles.
In the
it.
desert.
Nice.
Kara, any other thoughts or notes about this movie?
No, I think the only thing I didn't get to is LOL 2001 AI.
2001, they just used the term AI.
No, just like the general existence of AI in 2001 is laughable.
Yeah.
I liked the little girl creepiness. I'm glad you said that there's a conclusion to this, or like more on this.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more there.
Perfect.
Are you ready to watch the trailer? I don't know if I've ever. I'm sure I've seen this trailer, but I don't know.
Yes, I'm down. Are we watching the trailer for the game or the movie?
Why would we watch it for the game?
I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Movie Clips Classic Trailers Resident Evil 2002 Official Trailer 1 Mila Jovovich movie.
I didn't see that you already had it in the chat before you sent us the picture of Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can. So if you scroll the right point, you can watch the trailer while also looking at the picture of Catherine Zeta-Jones. So
mine didn't play in it; it opened in a new tab. But really? I'm ready whenever.
Cara,
ready.
Do you want to fire it up, let it buffer, and get ready?
Pretty ready. Although it seems kind of. Oh no! How do I make it play through my headphones?
Oh, I don't know. I don't.
Just put it on mute, I guess.
Okay, but then what?
We can just watch what it is. I mean, you're probably gonna know. A lot of these trailers from this time are not. Very there's not we haven't seen very many in a world that's not usually what we
yeah, it's
with.
Usually just these are clips of the movie put together.
I'm guessing this is gonna be a lot of loud music and just corny dialogue, not corny dialogue, but action movie dialogue.
Well, I tried putting on the captions, so let's see if they have captions.
Okay,
cool.
3, 2, 1, play. This trailer
in a world.
Which is very nice.
I'm so glad you said it.
I guess I gotta leave that in now. I can't cut that. I can't edit that out. So, all right.
Oh God.
Oh wow, it does have captions. That's nice. There's too much going on for me to look at.
There is a lot of voiceover though. This is just it's like the AI talking about what's going on.
We have to get out of this building.
We have to get out of here.
So many of these people in the opening segment that all die all look so familiar, and I don't think I know them from anything. They all
because they're all Bobo versions of other people. Like the guy.
Yes.
I guess maybe not those people. But the guy, the other random guy that's with this team, that's in the blue Oxford shirt, who I don't even understand why he's there really.
He looks like Logan Eccles from.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's Bobo
man.
Logan. Yeah.
Oh, we got a little taste of the waffler. We did.
They're team captain, the guy that gets waffled. He's on a lot of British TV shows and movies.
Rachel just cackled because she heard me say waffle maker. She realized what was happening.
I will say though that there is a lot of voiceover and stuff, but there's also a lot of loud noises and action lines and the music.
Yes.
We're both right.
How is she still standing?
Why is she still standing?
She isn't standing now.
He's standing now. Thanks, Letty.
Also,
Michelle Rodriguez.
This game now.
I did not remember his second build on the DVD cover, on the poster, very firmly front and center.
Yeah.
Ugh, so flashy.
You're all going to die, Daddy.
That's really bad CGI. Yeah.
And the main enemy at the end, the main bad guy.
The boss, if you will.
Yeah, the boss. Because there is, the guy who gets taken away at the end, in the games, I don't remember the movies. This may be a movie spoiler, it may not be, because I don't remember if he's in the movies or not, but, he becomes Nemesis, which is, this big villain in the video games that never had a backstory.
Oh.
But here, this is him becoming Nemesis. When he, gets infected and gets, taken away at the end, they're, not giving him the cure or whatever, right?
Yeah, I always had a hard time tracking exactly who he was.
It's this guy, I think.
Who was the guy? There was one guy in this movie that looked like a bootleg Wolverine. Who's the guy in this movie that looks like a bootleg Hugh Jackman, and what else was he in? Does anybody know who I'm talking about?
You're talking about the captain?
Maybe.
I don't know, because I think to Kara's point, everybody looks like somebody else, and I can't separate anybody.
I was watching a Lifetime movie at some points, right?
Yeah.
I think I looked him up in the IMDb thing, and I couldn't figure out which face was his. That's how bad it was. So you said maybe it's the captain?
Maybe. I mean, the woman in the beginning in the elevator, looks like Bobo Thandie Newton. There's so many people here who are oh, no, that. But
she's in a lot of British TV shows, too.
I believe it. I mean, I feel because they're all given, relatively speaking, a lot to do. They carry the movie for the first 5 or 10 minutes, right? So, you can't just hire no name, because, you have to sell it to some extent, but, yeah, they're not exactly the stars of this movie. I don't know. We have to play the letterbox game. So, for reference sake, Cara, I know you've heard this game a lot. I don't know if you've ever played this game with us, though. Have you played this game before or no?
I don't know. Maybe.
So, for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road has been seen by 628,000 people. 628.
Climbing up.
Resident Evil 2002, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, starring Mila Jovovich, Michelle Rodriguez, Eric Mabius, Ryan McCluskey, has been seen by how many people? And Cara, I know this is an impossible task to try to guess these numbers, but it's the name of the game.
Ooh. I'm going to go 36,000.
And Cara, I know this is a wildly difficult game to play, but guess a number.
Do you have a guess?
I'm gonna go 140,000.
So Cara is much closer, but it's between the two numbers.
Damn.
So Joe, you said like 36, and Cara said 140. So it's closer to 140, but it's between those numbers.
80. That's like high for me. I can't imagine it's way more than that.
Cara, you want to guess another number?
117.
Once again, Cara closer, but again, between those two numbers. One more guess. Third round. Final
95.
round.
95, and I'm done. 95, and I'm out.
103,000.
106,558.
Mind-bogglingly high to me. That's insanity. Holy fuck. So many people saw this movie.
Past guest of the show, Chris Podcast, gave this 1 star. Past guest
Nice.
and also person we mentioned in this episode, Awesome Wolf Southern, gave it 4.5 stars. Cara and I both in that sweet 3.5 spot range.
Although I did see that the last time I watched it on Letterboxd, I had rated it 4 stars. This
So it went down
time
a
it
little
was
bit.
a 3.5.
You have a different mindset about virology since last time, so...
It's
you know.
true. If anything, I should like this movie more. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
Find the
out
green
of those 107,000 people, how many put this in their top 4 movies of all time?
I'm going to go 35, and that's high.
Cara,
Yeah, my gut says 26.
you got to go way higher.
Really?
115.
82.
I'm gonna call it there, Joe. 119. You were just about there.
Wow.
119 people. Average rating of 2.8.
Fucking love this movie. Way more.
2.85. Most common rating of 3. 119 people. So I found Elsa at Scarlet Witches. If the worst thing I can say about this movie, considering the shit show the rest of the series became, so sorry, Cara, is that the impact of Kaplan's big damn heroes moment is ruined by Anderson deciding to show him use his last bullet on a zombie instead. Clearly, it should go down in the history books as a cinematic masterpiece. 5 stars. And then she reviewed it again and just said, remember when these movies had heart and emotional stakes? Characters with actual motivations, personalities and development, narrative subtleties and original ideas, memorable scenes and music that stood the test of time, an aesthetic that didn't look like a computer had spit it out, a consistent canon and a genuine sense of horror and dread? I do. As far as I'm concerned, the series started in 2002 and ended in 2004. 5 stars.
Wow. Those are some takes. She
Elsa
has strong
has
thoughts.
thoughts about this
She has
franchise.
thoughts.
Sounds
She
like she likes 2
does.
of them and hates 4 of them. Her 4th favorite movie of all time is Resident Evil.
That's barely
Is
a franchise. 2 movies? Come on, get out of here.
Elsa, I mean, you want to at Scarlet WWTCH on Twitter. She's in Singapore. Cara, you can fight her from around the world.
All right.
Her 4th favorite movie of all time is Resident Evil. She saw Tenet, so gave Tenet 3 stars. Rewatched The Prestige, 5 stars. Prestige might be Christopher Nolan's best movie.
Okay.
Don't at me. Or you can at me. I don't care. Her number 1 favorite movie is a movie that we talked about in this episode.
Fifth Element.
No. That is wildly similar to this movie.
What other movie do we talk about like Fifth Element? Cara, help.
Oh, The Matrix?
Nope. How this movie ends is how I said this other movie begins.
Oh, 28 Days Later.
Yes. Her favorite movie is 28 Days Later.
So she's a zombophile. Yeah.
We did that recently on Wistful Thinking, and it is so good. Definitely
Yeah.
worth a rewatch.
Rachel loves 28 Days Later. She's a big fan.
I don't remember the sequel being very good.
I found it very interesting. Actually, definitely worth rewatching given the current state of things. Highly
Okay.
recommend.
Cool.
It's very
Fair.
interesting, very different, totally different movie. Interesting indeed.
Elsa's second favorite movie, she would take offense at me saying The Prestige is Christopher Nolan's best movie because her second favorite movie is another one of his movies.
Can't name any Christopher Nolan. I mean, like, I can, but not off the top of my head.
Yeah, Sam.
Give us another hint. Come on.
No, I'm not going to. I refuse.
Christopher Nolan. I don't know. What, Inception?
Memento.
Is that one of his?
Those are both ones of his, but neither of these.
Batman something?
Uh-huh. One of them.
Oh,
Well, that's as far
Dark
as I'll
Knight.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Good job, Cara. You got me there. Thanks.
You guys both saying, I don't know any Christopher Nolan movies. My brain's not... It's just like, come on, guys.
Listen,
There's like three directors.
It doesn't. I don't care. I just am not into him.
That's
like,
totally fine, but also like...
No, I am. I like his movies, and even still, I'm like, when you like give me like a name like that, I was like, all I thought was James Cameron, and I was like, okay, James Cameron movies. And I was like, I know that James Cameron movies, and it's not those. And I'm like, fuck.
All right, and then her third favorite movie... I don't want to just give it away, but
Okay.
it's that's going to just give it away, but I'll just say a remake has been in the news a lot lately.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No. Remake, not sequel.
A remake has been in the news a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
Mulan.
Yep.
Oh!
Again,
Which, by the way, I can't believe they didn't cast Scarlett Johansson for Mulan. Like, I don't know how they fumbled that one, but...
I think my favorite thing about this game is when I give like a slam dunk answer that's like very clearly won, and you're still like proud of yourself. You're like, oh, I got Mulan.
Yeah, but I mean, like a remake that's been in the news. Like, you really thought that I would get Mulan though?
I think so.
I appreciate that. Like, you take me far enough away that like, why would I be thinking about Mulan? But I have been paying attention. It's always like, is Joe been paying attention to stuff? And I'm like, sometimes I do.
You pay attention to things, but I can never tell what you're paying attention to.
Exactly.
That's the game.
Yeah, that's the connection. And when you make the alley-oop there, it feels really nice. That's what I'm saying.
It's whatever the opposite of what I expect you to be. So, and that changes. So, I don't know.
Gemini nature, brother.
Well, Cara, thank you so much for surprise joining us for Resident Evil. Maybe you'll be back for the next one. Who knows? I'm not saying that's a tease, but we don't know. I mean, we're just, because you were like, oh, I forgot it was Wednesday, but I can join you. So here we are. So, Cara, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anything that you want to plug in this time of pandemic?
Get your fucking flu shots.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Get your fucking flu shots, wear a goddamn mask. Jesus Christ. Wash your fucking hands.
Yo, I didn't know how many people didn't wash their hands until the pandemic started.
Straight up, I have a coworker who doesn't believe in germ theory and therefore does not wash her hands.
Ever?
Listen, I don't know if this has changed since the pandemic. I saw this coming and was like, fuck you guys, I'm working from home indefinitely, at least a week or two before everyone else, so I don't know if that has changed at all. But, yeah.
One of the things that I always say is that, like, I'm very proud of my lab because, like, I have to order, like, 2 or 3 cases of soap pretty much, like, every 3 months.
Because people are washing their hands as often as they're supposed to.
Yes! And, so I'm always coming in, like, hey, like, to the admin people, like, can you order me another case of soap? And they're like, yeah, or like, and I'm like, give me like 3 cases. They're like, didn't you just order 3 cases like a couple months ago? I'm like, yeah, but thankfully we go through a ton of soap here, and that's a really good thing. Like, it's the most reassuring purchase ever.
The tools to conquer this pandemic are so simple, and we've had them for such a long time. It's just that we actually have to use them.
Yeah.
And actually, like, do the things. If we actually do the things, we can stop this. People need to do that.
Or you can just bitch that you're at home for...
Yeah, I mean, the tools are also just common sense and belief in science. Like, there's not that... You don't even have, like...
Oh, it's a big ask. It's a real big ask.
It really is. It really, really is. Well, we'll get more into virology on Friday for Resident Evil Retribution. Will Michelle Rodriguez come back in a flashback? Will she come back in a prequel? Who knows?
Who knows? If you want that antivirus, that's what the flu shot is, you guys.
Get the green tube.
Get
so
the
flu shot
goddamn
is green
tube.
Is what you're saying.
The flu shot is green.
If we neon-colored vaccines and, like, they were, like, neon green, I think more people would get them.
It would be polarizing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we can have, like...
There's a certain subset of people who are so vulnerable to falling off that anti-vaxxer cliff that, like, you know, a neon green vaccine might be the thing to push them over.
But believe it or not, it's already polarizing, so, I mean,
yeah, well,
why not throw caution to the wind and just neon, like, tie-dye it a bright, bright color?
Yeah, like Ninja Turtles, like the ooze. Just make it like that.
Secret of the shot. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you can go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com. Thank you once again to Nick Burris for sponsoring this episode. And he kind of gets a bonus sort of ish thing on Friday with another Resident Evil movie coming in Resident Evil Week. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Cara Gael O'Regan. We'll tell you all about it
when we see